Come with me if you want to live.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show for the first time in 5 long, magical, glorious, but very long years. I'm finally doing a live show right here on this channel, and if you didn't know, for the last 5 years, I've been doing live shows weekly on my second channel, John Flickinger. That link is down below, so go check out that channel if you want to join me for weekly live shows, but I figured I'd switch things up and finally go back to where I started this crazy thing called YouTube, right here on this channel, and we could hang out, talk about some movies. So with all that said, grab some popcorn, something cold to drink. I have a delicious caffeinated beverage right here, and then we can talk about some movies. And I only have one main topic I want to dive into, and as I'm blabbering on, feel free to chime in with your questions, ask anything and everything you want to. It can relate to movies, it can relate to life, I can give you tax advice, but then again, do you want to take financial advice from a guy wearing a Jurassic Park hoodie? No, you do not. So the first main topic I wanted to dive into is a new announcement, or actually something I saw on X earlier today, and it was this right here. And let me pull up my crackhead camera. This is my little crackhead camera right here. And I want to talk about Cinemacon for just 1 second. And this is the 2026 film slate. It's just a picture, but I figured we could quickly break down each and every single one of these movies real quick. And who said original movies were dead? I mean, just look at this. Look at all these corporate products. Part 4, part 5, part 7. But either way, I am looking forward to some of these movies, nevertheless. So the first one I see up on the list is Avengers Doomsday. Now, just a few days ago, we finally got the big cast announcement. And if you had 5 hours of your life to give, well, you could see all the names announced for the upcoming Doomsday Avengers flick, and I'm excited to see it. I really am. Some of the cast announcements that didn't quite make the cut were Tom Holland's Spider-Man, so that's interesting. But we'll talk about Spider-Man in just 1 second. But when it comes to Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom, a lot of people hate it, but I sort of embrace that. I think if he can no longer be the biggest hero in the MCU, why not make him the biggest villain for this upcoming installment? That's just my take on it. Let me some Robert Downey Jr. And if you're gonna have faith in any actor to pull off a villainous character with some charisma and some wit, you got to give it to Robert Downey Jr. So I'm looking forward to Avengers Doomsday. What say you? Let me know down below. And then the next one on this list is Pixar's Hoppers. I know nothing about this movie. I couldn't tell you anything about it, but it exists, so hey, it's coming out in 2026. The next one that I'm sort of excited about, and I'm not quite, I'm waiting for a trailer to really get my feelings in check, but it's Spider-Man 4, and we haven't really had any confirmations on who the villains will be. We know we might have a new MJ possibly, but who knows. And then the next one that sort of surprised me was Moana 3. Now, didn't we just get Moana 2 like 3 days ago, it feels like? Now, keep in mind, Moana 2, what they did is they salvaged a Disney Plus series. They ripped it apart and taped it all together and said, hey, here's a movie. You want to watch it? And it did very well at the box office, but the film itself, it felt like a slopped together Disney Plus series in an hour and a half feature-length film. So I'm curious where and how they had the time to make Moana 3. I almost have a theory, and I'm completely speculating at this point because I've done no research on the matter, but I would almost dare to say, did they take maybe like season 2 of the Moana series and also condense that into a feature-length film, and they're now giving us Moana 3? Because the turnaround time on this film seems very, very quick. I don't know. I'm curious how long this movie's been in production, and if they're just maybe capitalizing on the success of some Disney Plus series and trying to make a feature-length film out of it like they did with the second movie. The fourth movie, or the fifth movie on this list, is Masters of the Universe. Now, keep in mind, we've had one of these movies before with Dolph Lundgren back in the 1980s. It was really bad. It was atrocious. It's sort of a guilty pleasure movie, but I am kind of looking forward to it. Okay. The next one after that is Scream. I'm sure we've already got the cast announcements. Neve Campbell's coming back as Sydney. I'm sort of looking forward to it. If they don't make Stu the mastermind or treat him like Hannibal Lecter of this franchise and have the character Stu in some padded cell where maybe Sydney goes and talks to him after 30 years and he's completely insane, almost like Hannibal Lecter, okay? Imagine Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling or Jodie Foster when they're having those discussions deep down in the dungeon through the glass. I'm hoping we get a scene like that between Stu and Sydney in this upcoming Scream movie. If they don't do that, that just feels like a missed opportunity. And then the next one is Street Fighter. Now, keep in mind, I saw the original Street Fighter in theaters back in 1994. And as a kid who grew up playing all the Street Fighter games, and I have a Street Fighter arcade cabinet right back there, which I play occasionally in my underwear late at night, I've been waiting a very long time for a Street Fighter movie to be good. We've never had one, but hopefully, maybe this will be that movie. I doubt it, though. All right, the next one is Mario Bros. 2. I thought the first one was okay. I don't care about Chris Pratt voicing Mario. Sorry, I don't. And hey, it's me. Let's go to the next movie. And then the next one that's probably my most anticipated movie on this list is The Odyssey, directed by Nolan, and give it to me now. Just looking at some of the paparazzi set photos that are taken from 800 feet away of some boats in the ocean, that gets me excited in itself. You want to know why? Those boats are actually boats. They're actually in the ocean. There's people in them. There's no green screen. It's just real and it's practical, and I can't wait to see it. So I can't wait to see this. And plus, on a side note, Troy starring Brad Pitt, You Sack of Wine, is one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, feel free to get your questions in. Please get your questions in. I will answer every single question in just a few minutes after I talk about some of these movies. And then the next one on the list here is Shrek 5. Now, that first teaser clip of Shrek didn't do much for me because it didn't look like Shrek. It looked like Shrek if he went to Los Angeles for far too long and had some too much Botox and maybe a facelift. That's what the new Shrek looks like to me. I don't know how to feel about it. And I wasn't a big fan of Shrek 4. The next one is Hunger Games. Then you got Jumanji. Then you have Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, I had no clue this would be a feature-length theatrical release. Are we sure this isn't some Disney Plus movie? Hey, I like The Mandalorian. I maybe the last season was forgettable somewhat, but I'll watch me some Mandalorian in the theater if they give it the big budget feel. Then you have Mega Minions. Fun story about me. I've never once seen any of the Minion movies. And I like to say that's one thing I'm going to keep up for the rest of my life. It's like the one consistent thing I think I can do for the rest of my life is never sit down and watch a Minions movie. And I say that, and one day I'm going to have kids and probably watch the movies in 24-hour repeat. The next movie on this list that truly gets me excited is Clayface. And then if you read the little tagline there, it says, what does it say? Oh, Shape Your Fear. That's cool. Now, the Clayface they put on there is the cartoon version of Clayface. Now, this is a live-action film, and I'm curious how the premise of this movie is you have a B actor who's struggling to find work and has body dysmorphia issues. And that sounds intriguing to me. That sounds like a psychological character study. I want to see it. And if they handle this with the same sort of respect that they gave the first Joker film, not the second one, not where they're singing and dancing. I'm not talking about that one with Lady Gaga. No. We're talking about the first Joker film. If they can handle it with that kind of tone and grittiness and treat it like a real character study, I'm all for this. So I'm sort of looking forward to Clayface. And backstory on the character Clayface, when it comes to the Batman animated series, he was always one of my least favorite characters in that series. I always sort of just thought of him as a big turd who could shapeshift. Maybe I'm all alone on that one. Then you have Ice Age 6. I didn't see Ice Age 2, 3, 4, or 5, and I'll probably not watch 6, but hey, it exists. And then you have The Hunt for Gollum. Now, this could be intriguing. I think Andy Serkis is directing this movie. And I love me some Gollum. I just hope that they don't bastardize the character for the sake of a cash grab. I really don't. If Peter Jackson was coming back and directing this, maybe I'd have a little more faith in it. And I like me some Andy Serkis, I do, who plays Gollum himself. But the last Andy Serkis movie I watched was Venom 2, so we'll keep expectations mild at this point. Then you have Supergirl. I'm just going to wait for a trailer to really judge it. Then we have Toy Story 5. Now, you can say what you will about Toy Story 4. Was it the greatest Toy Story? No. Was it the weakest one in the franchise? Absolutely. But as a dude who grew up in the mid-90s, Toy Story was my life, and I still have some kind of weird emotional attachment to those little toys, okay? So I'm looking forward to this. I'm just hoping that it has a better story than Toy Story 4 did, okay? That's my only hope. The next one on here is called Hail Mary. Now, if you look at this image, it sort of looks like a young adult novel, but it's not that. It actually is starring Ryan Gosling, and it's about a man on a space station who wakes up with amnesia, and there's an ice age happening on Earth. I think that's what's happening as the premise of this movie, but nevertheless, sounds pretty cool to me. But I'll tell you what doesn't sound cool, and I'll tell you, and last but certainly least, is Fast X Part 2. Now, I got through the first 17 minutes of Fast X Part 1, nor did I think I needed a Part 2, but that is also happening. So those are some upcoming movies that were announced at Cinemacon. Share your thoughts, your opinions down below on these movies. Let me know. Are you excited to watch these? I'm excited for like half of them. Half of them look pretty good. All right, so the first question up comes from Pulp Culture Odyssey, and here it is. Sup, John? Glad I can make the live stream finally. What are your thoughts on the film Hell or High Water? Also, can you recommend me some good heist movies? Oh, man. Well, I mean, obviously, you have movies like Heat. You have movies like The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. But then you have movies like Point Break, because it was never about the money. It was about us against the system, showing that the human spirit is still alive while everyone else inches down the freeway in their metal coffins. If you've never seen Point Break, please watch it immediately. I love it. All right. But yeah, man, I liked Hell or High Water quite a bit. Chris Pine was great in the movie. Ben Foster always plays like a crazy, cracked out dude who just seems unhinged. You don't know what he's about to do next. So I love me some Ben Foster as well. So I quite enjoyed the movie Hell or High Water. And speaking of Chris Pine, I was just watching Star Trek 2008 last night. Such an underrated movie. It does not get the credit it deserves. The next one comes from I'm a Lost Boy, John. Aren't we all? And he says, my neighbor blew grass clippings into my yard 6 months ago. I still fantasize about whooping him Casino Royale style. Oh, yeah, you got it. Dude, that is the ultimate sign of disrespect in a suburban neighborhood. You don't blow your grass clippings in another man's lawn. Just like you never rub another man's rhubarb. So you should immediately go over there and make your presence felt. Or do what I do. I have a neighbor behind my house that has this huge tree with all these leaves, and they all blow into my yard. So I take them all, and I just dump them over the fence. And it's not my tree, okay? I'm just saying. You got to do what you got to do, especially when it comes to yard maintenance. Let's go to the next question before I get into talking about weed whacking. All right, the next one comes from Pulp Culture Odyssey, who says, Sup, John? Glad I made the live stream. Oh, we already talked about that one. Okay, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock. How's it going, Skylar Wheelock? It's crazy that your last live stream was longer than The Godfather, more enjoyable too. I'll take it. I don't know if that's true, though. I'm more surprised you didn't have to take a pee break. Yeah, so my last live show, which I think was my record-breaking live stream for as long as it went over 4 hours and like 20 minutes. I did that last week, and I did in fact wear a diaper during that live stream. I want you to know that right now, Skylar. I was wearing a diaper. Did I use the diaper? That's a question for another time. Yes, I did. Okay. Am I wearing one now? Maybe. But thanks for the question, man. All right, the next one comes from Chase Kill, who says, who would win, MacGyver or the A-Team? Okay. The A-Team had Mr. T. They have some physicality. They absolutely do. And they had a crew. But unfortunately, MacGyver's smarter than all of them. If you give MacGyver a rubber band, a paperclip, and a lighter, he will defeat the A-Team within 25 minutes. I assure you of that. So I'm going to go with MacGyver. All right. The next one comes from Logan CD, who says, "Hi, John. Thoughts on the new A24 film, Bring Her Back, coming at the end of May from the directors of Talk to Me." I think I'm slightly familiar with this movie. Let me see here. Bring Her Back. Did I see the trailer for this? Our brother and sister witness a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. I guess I don't know anything about this movie. Looks cool. Looks intriguing. Yeah, man, I don't know anything about this. Maybe I did. The poster looks familiar. I feel like I've seen the poster in the movie theater. But yeah, looks cool. I'm excited to see it. Pretty much anything A24 at this point in life, I will definitely give it a chance. The next one comes from... Do you guys want to talk about The Woman in the Yard? We can if you want. I don't want to force it on you, though. Conch says, and how's it going, Conch? How's it going, buddy? Spits out whiskey and Coke Zero. Holy cats, they're making Project Hail Mary. It's from the same author who wrote the book that led me to The Martian with Matt Damon. Hail Mary is that on steroids. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I know the novel. I did read some of the novel to The Martian, and the novel itself just... It comes across so much more intriguing than the actual live-action film did from Ridley Scott. And not to say that's not a good movie. It's enjoyable. I quite like it. My wife loves it. It might just be one of her favorite movies of all time. But I'm working on that. Yeah, I'm excited. Anytime you can have an epic space film about a dude just trapped in isolation with his own thoughts and feelings, that's my type of movie. If you can take Castaway and put it in space... I don't care if he talks to an inanimate object, a volleyball, a beach ball, I don't care, or a robot. That's my type of movie, so I'm looking forward to it. The next one is coming from... And thanks for the question, Conch. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock once again. I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance earlier, and it's the most 1995 feeling film. Stellar performance, sharp writing, grit and sweat. It's perfect R-rated summer flick. Oh man, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now this might be a very unpopular opinion. I'm going to stand by it because I'm not afraid. I think I prefer Die Hard with a Vengeance. I know, please don't get angry. I prefer that the most out of any of the Die Hard films. The original will always be phenomenal. It will be. But when it comes to rewatchability, for some odd reason, I've always found myself rewatching Die Hard with a Vengeance. I like the cat and mouse game of it. I like when they're running through the streets of New York. And my favorite thing about that entire movie is Sam L. Jackson, who plays Zeus. The name's Zeus, motherfucker! Like God, thunderbolts! You know, I love it. So, what was the question, though? Oh, yeah, you just watched it. Well, yeah, it's a good summer movie by far. Simon didn't say. Yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance, good stuff. Oh, and the opening scene to Die Hard with a Vengeance, you want to talk about going for it? Yeah, they didn't hold back, did they? I'm talking about when John McClane's walking down the streets of Harlem wearing a sign. Yeah, they didn't pull punches in that movie. All right, Jake Tammin, how's it going? Sup, John? Just finished Age of Ultron in my Infinity Saga rewatch. What are your thoughts on the film? I thought Ultron was really wasted, but was fine overall. There are no strings on me. I liked Age of Ultron. It's probably my least favorite Avengers film. And my one nitpick with that entire film is the color grading of that movie. I just don't like how muddy it looks. It has like this real brownishy tint. And all the scenes that take place, I think the scenes that take place in Africa, where the Hulkbuster fight sequence takes place, when they demolish a building and it collapses in on itself, I just didn't like how brown the color grading of that movie looked. Something about it just was not pleasant to look at as a movie. But it was still entertaining. I definitely think it's like middle tier of Marvel movies, but the Hulkbuster fight sequence was pretty cool. Ultron was a fine villain, you know, if you were kind of savoring the flavor until you got to Thanos, but Yeah, I thought it was fine. I have no urge to go back and rewatch it anytime soon, though. I'll put it that way. Dustin Rich, how's it going? Says, in the last live show, you and Swenson's, you said Swenson's is just okay. It's not okay. It's effing great. Punish yourself, please. I will punish myself. 3, 2, 1. That's my punishment for all my sins against humanity. Swenson's is a restaurant in Ohio, and it's good for late night. It's sort of like a late night greasy spoon restaurant, right? You pull in, you park, you don't even go in. They come to you. They come to your window, and they service you there. We are still talking about a restaurant. Yes, we are. No, it's fine. I like it. Good milkshakes. Sometimes they're a bit too thick, so you gotta wait till they thaw out or turn the heat on in your car and like thaw them out. That's my big complaint about Swenson's. But other than that, good restaurant. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock once again, who says, what's a stupid, silly wrestling opinion you will die on a hill for believing? Mine is at least Vince McMahon took chances on people, even though some were head scratchers. He is a risk taker, something I thought Triple H would take from his time with Vince. I don't know, man. Listen, without Vince McMahon, you wouldn't have WWE. So you gotta give respect where respect's due. Now, did he do some questionable things later in his life? Yeah, he became a bit kooky, and he was a billionaire who had too much money. So, but nevertheless, some wrestling takes I will die on a hill over. I don't know. Triple H, he was always sort of I was never intrigued to see Triple H wrestle, but I was glad that he was wrestling somebody else I wanted to see him wrestle. Triple H was never the guy, but he's always the guy that the guy worked with in a big match. That's how I feel about Triple H. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I like what he's doing right now in WWE. And by the way, on a side note, if you guys didn't know and you're new here, I'm a huge wrestling nerd. If I wasn't talking about movies on the internet, I would be talking about wrestling. Yes, I would. Lubed up in baby oil in every video. That's my dream one day. All right, John B says, John in his favorite hoodie. This is my good luck hoodie, okay? When I'm talking about movies or going to see movies, this is the hoodie I wear. And plus, look at this thing, man. Look, it's just sleek. It's sexy. It smells like Jeff Goldblum. And let's go to the next question. You're all going to have questions on your movie live show? Yes, I am. All right. The next one comes from Just Cash Out, who says, hey, John, thoughts on the movie Collateral? I love Tom Cruise in that movie. I would go so far as to say that might just be my favorite Tom Cruise performance of all time. I much prefer when Tom Cruise plays a villain. And hear me out for a second. I read people very well. I see through them. I look through their eyes and I can read their soul. And I will just say this. I find Tom Cruise a much more viable villain than a good guy. That's just my take on him. I'm just putting it out there. But no, Collateral's phenomenal. Michael Mann movie. He had the early digital video camera shots. And any film that takes place primarily during a nighttime setting, especially in the streets of Los Angeles with the city backdrop. And, oh, man, that's my type of movie. That's why I like movies that take place at night so much. Movies like The Warriors or Collateral or Drive. Just something about nighttime settings in films. It feels like there's like a pulse. It feels more lively to me. It feels like anything can happen, and it's always dangerous. You never know who's lurking in the shadows. And in this situation, it's Tom Cruise with dyed gray hair. But the one thing, and spoilers, Collateral came out 21 years ago at this point. My one issue with Collateral is the very ending of the film, where Jamie Foxx and he get into a gunfight in the subway. I don't understand how a trained hitman assassin who's a badass like Tom Cruise lost that gunfight to Jamie Foxx, who just drives a cab for a living. I don't know how that happened, but I love the movie. All right. The next one comes from Jacob Hubbard. How's it going, Jacob? Long time no see, man. Hey, John. What's up, my friend? I hope you're doing great. Well, I'm doing pretty good, Jacob. How's South Carolina treating you? I'm doing good. Short story about Jacob. I used to live in South Carolina, and Jacob, was a subscriber of my channel who also has a channel of his own. I think his channel is called Jacob Hubbard, is it not? And he talks about movies. And I ran into him in the Walmart parking lot one night. Fun stuff. All right, the next one comes from Mickey C, who says, rate your acting in Stuckman's short film. I mean, come on. Was I not the best damn thing about that entire short film? Was I not captivating, polarizing, and moving? Every scene I was in, Academy Award worthy at its finest. No, my acting in that movie was what it should be. B-rate and slightly shitty, but that was what I was supposed to do. So, I still think Alien Stalker needs a sequel. Just putting it out there. All right. And Justin Cashout, I did answer your question, man. I didn't miss you, so thank you once again, buddy. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for the question. All right. Brandon Robert Kurzges. All right, here it goes. Ever thought about starting your own film festival? No, never once. Not even for a second have I thought about starting my own film festival. I haven't. I don't even know what would I call it? The Flick Pick? I don't know. I never thought about it. I mean, that's a cool idea, but I've never had any ambition to start my own film festival. To be honest with you, I don't even really enjoy going to film festivals. Does that sound crazy from a guy who talks about movies? But hear me out for a second. I went to Fantastic Fest last October. And don't get me wrong, when everything's going well and you're meeting other people who talk about movies and hanging out, that's fun and all. And seeing new movies months ahead of time is still, and that's pretty awesome as well, don't get me wrong. But the entire obligation and rigmarole that they put you through to watch movies, I would rather burn in hell for the rest of eternity, because to watch any new movie, you have to, at the crack of dawn, get on some website, sit there like you're an automated robot and clicking so you can get the right screening at the right time before it instantaneously sells out. And by instantaneously, I mean within like a fraction of a second, these movies get sold out. So you get lucky to maybe get into one or two movies you want to see a day. That's if you're lucky. And I had to sneak into half the movies I saw because they were always sold out. So I had to get creative. Is it ethical? Morally? I don't care. I flew halfway across the country. I'm watching this movie. I don't care if I have to stand up in the back. I'm going to watch it, okay? So when it comes to film festivals, I'm not a fan of them. I hate waiting around for 9 hours to watch a movie. It's like, I'll just watch this shit in 3 months in the cinema, okay? I'm not doing this. But that's just me. Do you guys like going to film festivals? All right, the next one comes from Robert Giachanta. How's it going, buddy? You getting stoned for Minecraft, chicken jockey? I think that's the best way to watch Minecraft is on hallucinogenics. Where are the drugs? You've been poisoned with psychotropic hallucinogens. Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I want someone to say to me right before I watch Minecraft. I will see the movie this week. Real quick on a side note, I am going to Los Angeles on Wednesday. I'm going there for a Sony event to check out their latest home theater tech, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try to make a video or two, but I will be in LA, and I have a little bit of downtime. I have like 6 hours of freedom. I'm there for 2 days, and I have 6 hours to myself. So I might go to Amiibo Records in Hollywood, and I might go there on Thursday afternoon. So if you guys live in Hollywood, let me know. I might make a little flick trip video. It looks like the place to go for physical media. All right. So yeah, as far as Minecraft goes, I've heard the movie's mildly entertaining, but also it's a Minecraft movie. So, I mean, by the end of the film, when the credits start rolling, you will be dumber than you were when the movie started. Let's just put it that way. Will your brain turn into jello and start leaking out of your ear? Maybe. Will I watch the movie? Yes, I will. All right. Enrique GM, who says, John, now that you are my friend, please do the impression of Morgan Freeman saying, Oh, God, I don't know if I can do this. Let me take a drink of this caffeinated beverage very quickly. Hang on. Okay, here's Morgan Freeman saying, Now, don't just stare at it. Eat it. Please never leave YouTube. I won't. Not a very good impression. It's never going to get better. All right. The next one comes from James Doshier, who says, John, would you watch a Legend of Zelda movie? Oh, yes, I would. Not only would I watch it, I would consume it. And I'm so shocked that we have not gotten a Legend of Zelda movie. I thought that was in the works like 7 years ago. Maybe it'll happen one day. I mean, with every IP being made, I could see there, if Mario can do well, I don't think Legend of Zelda will do as well as like a Mario animated movie, but I think it would still do very well. And I think they should make that. Now, the question is, would they make it an animated Zelda movie or would they make a live action Zelda movie? Part of me would rather see the live action one. I know, but all right, let's go to the next one here. And that is from Daniel Martin, who says, Hey, Johnny, do you still place Bane above Joker as far as interesting villains in the Dark Knight trilogy? Why do you think Rises gets so much hate? Well, for me, I love the Joker, and I like Heath Ledger's Joker quite a bit. I think that was everything it should have been, and that portrayal was exactly what the Dark Knight trilogy needed. But for me, I've always enjoyed villains that have physicality to them, and I like villains who can stand toe-to-toe with characters like Batman, where it's like, yeah, I can pick this dude up and break him over my knee. Okay, you want to start some shit? There's going to be some shit, Batman. And so that's why I've always enjoyed the character Bane, but also he's an intellectual villain as well and a muscle-bound badass. So it's just a preference. I think the Joker is by far probably the more intriguing character from the Dark Knight trilogy, but Bane is, I still quite enjoy what we got. Do I think his death scene could have been better? Yeah. Could we have maybe actually seen him die and had some build up to it, or Batman did it? Maybe. But you know what? Catwoman was driving the Bat bike and had missiles. So there you go. But as far as Rises getting hate, after rewatching that movie probably 112 times, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, nor am I proud to say that, I think it just comes across as the one Batman movie in that trilogy that feels like it got the least amount of love. It definitely got the budget. You can tell they were trying to make a spectacle, but it feels so choppy and not quite as cohesive as the previous two installments. And there was just too many daylight sequences with Batman in that movie. I'm sorry. Like, a few scenes were okay, but when the entire third act of the movie takes place during the daytime in Gotham City, and then you see all those extras who are just the worst extras ever cast in any film, where they're back there all holding machine guns, but they're punching each other like this, but they're 5 feet away from each other when they're swinging. It's just some of the fight choreography really stood out in that film as being really bad. I think it's a multitude of things. You know, I think there were just little things they could have tweaked to make the movie better. But with all that said, I will say it was a fine conclusion to the trilogy. And I still stand by the fact that Batman is dead and sacrificed himself for Gotham City and blew up in the Batwing, and he is dead. He's dead. He's gone. He wasn't there at the end waving to Alfred. There was none of that. That's a dream sequence. Never happened. He's dead. He sacrificed himself. And I stand by that. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from, which stress do you go through as a content creator? Since it's not a normal 9-to-5 job, it's just coming up with new video ideas. It's not so much coming up with the ideas. I feel like the ideas are sort of the easy part. It's executing the ideas in a timely fashion. For me, I've never been able to be the first guy to put out a video. I'll probably always be the last guy to put out a video. But that's just because I like to reflect and think about things before I make a video that's going to stand the test of time and exist forever. Sometimes when you crap out a video, well, it just feels like you're crapping out a video for the sake of views to be first. But sometimes I feel like if you take your time and reflect, you can have more profound thoughts on films or TV series or what have you. And I always kick myself in the ass because if I rush out a video, the next day I have 10 more things I want to say about that video, which I feel like I should have. But then the flip side of that, the most stressful part to me is you just get overwhelmed so quickly, right? It's like, okay, if I don't put that video out, no one's going to watch it. And if no one watches it, well, I can't afford to pay my internet bill this month, and I'm going to live in a shoebox behind Walmart. So those are a few things I stress out about. But really, the biggest obligation to me when it comes to YouTube is simply editing the videos. If I could just sit here and crank out a whole bunch of videos in, I don't know, a day, and just hand somebody my SD card and say, hey, make these exactly how I would make them. But even better, that would be so much, that would be a wave of awesomeness just washing over me. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and I'll sit here on one video for 6 hours, and then another hour on the thumbnail, just second guessing myself. So those are a few stresses that come with YouTube. But really, I'll tell you this on a positive note. My favorite thing on YouTube are doing live streams, which I have primarily been doing on my second channel for the last 5 years. I don't know why. I just started doing them there because the algorithm told me that was the place to put those. And then I found a nice safe place on my second channel to do those. So I might occasionally come back once every 2 weeks and do a live stream here and talk about all the topics I didn't get a chance to talk about, or some smaller movies during the live streams. And the thing I like about the live streams are I can't hide behind editing, right? It's just live. It's visceral. It's unadulterated. It's just me and you. If I fuck up, I fuck up. I have to live with that. But that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make. So I much prefer live content over pre-recorded videos. For me, it's just so much more engaging and fun. That's the kind of stuff I'd much rather watch on YouTube as well. Something about it just feels less disingenuous and artificial. You know, I like it. It's like I can't hide behind my editing and my jump cuts to make myself sound smarter than I really am when I'm talking about something. I can't just push pause and Google this information, pretend like I'm some philanthropist about film. No. I'm just a dude wearing a Jurassic Park hoodie in his underwear. Take it how you will. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from the movie guy who says, hey, John, have you ever seen Roger Moore era Bond films? Bronson will always be my Bond, but Moore was really, really good. Yeah, I like Roger Moore. I think License to Kill is pretty much the coolest Bond movie. Wasn't he only in like 2 Bond movies? Was it 2 or 3, or maybe it was more? But License to Drive was always my favorite, and I think that was R-rated, right? That was always the coolest Bond movie to me because it wasn't some guy trying to blow up the planet. It was like about drugs, and I just thought it was a cool movie. The movie guy says the live videos are way better all around. I agree with you. I do agree with you. All right. The next one's coming from... And thank you guys so much for killing it with the questions. Oh my gosh. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Okay, here it goes. I just don't like the ads during the live stream. Hey, YouTube controls that. I'm sorry. Get ad blocker. I don't know. All right, the next one comes from Just Cash Out says, John, thoughts on the movie New Nightmare? So New Nightmare, which is the most meta Nightmare on Elm Street film, was, I feel like, a bit ahead of its time. Now, I do remember seeing this in theaters back in 1994, I believe it was. Now, I grew up with the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Nightmare on Elm Street, the second movie we would watch consistently, even though it was a little bit weird, it had some weird undertones. I'm talking about the gym teacher in the shower room. You know who I'm talking about. If you don't, go watch Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 again, okay? Some questionable choices being made in that film. And then my favorite was always Dream Warriors, but when it comes to New Nightmare, where it gets very meta with Freddy and he comes out of the, the Freddyverse into reality, I thought it was kind of intriguing, but as a kid, I guess I just wanted to see Freddy Krueger, I didn't want to see Robert Englund playing himself in a movie. As cool as that is, I just would rather see a more immersive experience. And I think making it meta sort of took me out of it slightly, but at that point in the franchise, I feel like they had run out of ideas. So, like, what else did they have to lose? Yeah, I thought it was fine. But it's definitely not one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies. All right, Novasonic says, it's License to Kill. Did I say License to Kill or License to Drive? Did I say Kill or Drive? Am I talking about, was I thinking of the Corey Haim and Corey Feldman movie? No. License to Kill. Sorry. If I said License to Drive, I'm sorry. We make mistakes on the live shows, and we have to live with those mistakes. I meant License to Kill. But License to Drive is also a really phenomenal movie, and I highly recommend checking it out. One of the most underrated 1980s comedies of all time. All right, let's go to the next one here, who says, okay, buddy says, hey, John, have you ever watched the movie Megan is Missing? What a weird movie. So, I've never watched all of the movie Megan is Missing, but I did watch the third act, and I did see the ending to Megan is Missing. And that to me is why if I ever have children or a daughter, she will carry a sawed-off shotgun in her purse and 10 gallons of pepper spray, and I will implant a GPS device under her forearm because that movie is truly terrifying. And I'm not going to give you explicit details on how the movie Megan is Missing ends, but it just ends in a dark, dark basement with a girl in a very, very vicarious position, and she's sort of at the mercy of whatever comes her way. That was weird. That was one way to put that, huh? But yeah, that Megan is Missing is a crazy movie. Yes, yes, it is. Okay, the next one comes from Jake Tamman, who says, hot take. I think Phase 1 is the best MCU phase after revisiting those movies. Avengers 1, Cap 1, Iron Man 1 are amazing. They all feel authentic. I will definitely say Phase 1 had the best solo Avengers movies because they weren't overly interconnected. They were all sort of building up a character without having 58 scenes talking about other characters in the MCU. And they were just solid, fundamental films that built that foundation for the MCU. And I think without those movies, you wouldn't give a shit about the Avengers. You wouldn't care about Avengers 2. And Endgame would have meant nothing if you didn't have the fundamental solo flicks from the Avengers in Phase 1. So I completely agree with you. All right. But it's not to say that some of the later phases, like, don't get me wrong, like Thor Ragnarok, yeah, you get the Hulk in there, you have Loki, you have Thor, you have a few other characters. I like that, I really do. I would go so far as to say I like that more than the first Thor movie, but I just think the MCU Phase 1, just something was special about it, right? It just felt a little more, you know what it was? There was a point in the MCU where they were tired of explaining how people got from point A to point B, or how Iron Man could have his armor on so quickly. Like, that was just, it was holding up the pages of the script. So they had to just make things very quick and blatant. And what I mean by that was just people would show up wherever they needed to show up. They'd have whatever tech they needed to have. Iron Man could just say, I'm Iron Man, and poof, he'd be in the Iron Man costume. But in the first Iron Man film, his suit had this mechanical, tactile function to it. It actually had to, like, start up and regenerate. You know, he was more vulnerable in that suit, which I think made his character more interesting. So, and then in the later installments, he just kind of looks like CGI guy, you know? So I do agree with you, though. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Robert Giachanta, who says, meet up with Cool Duder and Wet Movie in LA. Dude, I won't even have time to breathe. I'll have 6 hours. That includes eating and walking down Hollywood Boulevard for like an hour. So I probably won't have time to meet up with anyone to do like extensive videos or anything, but I wouldn't mind one day. And that's if my flight doesn't get canceled and then I even get there on time in the first place. So who knows? All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, have you considered Tarantino made a deal with the devil where he was only allowed to make 10 films, but since Kill Bill got split into 2 parts, he's been in contract dispute with Satan himself for the last 5 years. That could be the case. It could be the case. Listen, when Tarantino announced that his last movie was going to be The Film Critic, which as a dude who talks about movies on the internet and reviews movies, I was really looking forward to that film. And I have a very strong feeling that movie was going to be a big fuck you to everyone who criticizes film. And I get it. I completely do. It's like, if you can't do it, then you criticize it. That's how the saying goes. And there's some truth to that. There absolutely is. The fact that he's not making that movie any longer is sort of disappointing. But listen, if Tarantino wanted to make 100 movies in his filmography, I would watch and probably enjoy the majority of them. But it does feel like the dude he craps thunder and puts out lightning, doesn't he? Just every movie is like pure gold. And the more I watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the more I enjoy it. I almost just watched Pulp Fiction last night for like the 90th time. First time I watched that movie, I was 10 years old. And to me, that was like what movies should be after that. All right. Yeah, the pawn shop scene with the gimp in the basement. Ugh. All right, Conch is back again. And thanks for the question, Conch. Here it goes, man. Hope everything is going well, bud. You have a good weekend, ? I want to go watch Black Bag and Locked this past weekend. No, not a bad time. Any thoughts on those? Also, were you a big fan of the Bond franchise? Okay, so you want to go watch Black Bag. I think Black Bag, if you're a Steven Soderbergh fan, go watch it. If you don't love all of his movies, I definitely think Black Bag is one movie you could probably watch at home on a rainy night. It's fun. I quite enjoyed the journey more than the destination. There's one really fun scene that revolves around a lie detector. I think the performances are really good in Black Bag. I think the story itself is sort of the weak point. It sort of feels like if Steven Soderbergh made his version of Knives Out and put spies in the movie. That's sort of what it feels like tonally. So maybe watch it at home one day. Locked. I have not seen Locked. I did see The Woman in the Yard and Death of a Unicorn. But I haven't seen Locked. The Bond franchise, when it comes to the older Bond movies, I've seen them all probably once, but I am not an expert on the older Bond movies. I definitely grew up with movies like GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan, but my favorite interpretation of James Bond was always Daniel Craig in Casino Royale, which I stand by that being by far the best James Bond movie ever made, because it feels like an encapsulation of like three different eras of James Bond. You have the womanizer, you have the suave, sophisticated spy, but then you have like with the entire sequence where they're playing poker and it's very slow paced and there's no action or violence. It's just like they're trying to psych each other out at the poker table and the stakes are higher than ever. I liked that. But then you have the bombastic badass action sequences where he's chasing trucks on a tarmac with airplanes blowing up and all kinds of crazy shit. And then you have the opening scene of the movie where you have the one dude doing parkour. I liked all those things. So I think that's like the perfect James Bond movie for me. Now, the sequel's debatable. The second one with Daniel Craig was a complete disaster, and they made it up as they went. But Casino Royale is my favorite James Bond movie. All right, the next one comes from Crunch Butt Steak, who says, yes, go to Amoeba. John, it's epic. I probably will. I think my hotel's like a few blocks away, so I'll probably check it out. It's on the to-do list if I can get there. So thank you for the recommendation, Crunch Butt Steak. Thank you for that. And once again, Coach, thank you for the question, man. Thank you so much. You're too good to me. You guys are all too good to me. All right, let's go to the next one here. Night King 01, how's it going, buddy? John, I watched the new Jason Statham movie, A Working Man. Oh, I knew you would. Here it goes, though. Suffice it to say, it felt like a direct-to-video trash, and I was actually mildly excited. I enjoyed The Beekeeper, goofiness and all, but this ain't it. Sly needs to stop writing action films. Did Sylvester Stallone write Working Man? Did he write that? I feel like if Sylvester Stallone wrote this movie, he wrote it on like his first class private jet plane ride that was 2 hours long. He was like, I'm bored. Hey, I'll know. How about I just write an action movie? You know the kids like to watch action movies. We'll put Statham in it. He'll do anything. All right, he's got a new occupation. All right, he's just a working guy this time around. And then Jason Statham shows up and he goes, what's the job? And he beats some people up. The end. Listen, I like me some Jason Statham. I do. But as far as his occupational action movies, I'm good. I don't like it. Just there's so many other movies to watch, and there's so many past films I haven't seen that are classics that I would rather take the time and watch those. But in all reality, what I'd really rather do is just play Rocket League for like an hour until I get extremely mad and want to smash my controller over my own head. Let's go to the next question. A-Train98 says, hey, John, have you seen The Studio on Apple TV? It's fire. I have, man. I watched the first 2 episodes. Quite enjoyed them. This is so when it comes to TV series that relate to the film industry, The Entourage was always my go-to, right? And the most intriguing thing about Entourage, the series, was everything that took place with making movies or having cameos from James Cameron making a new Aquaman movie. I loved all those aspects of that show. Those were my favorite things about it. Some of the character drama, sort of, I could take it or leave it. Never was a fan of the character Turtle, just putting it out there. But when it comes to the Studio on Apple TV, I love it. We've only had 2 episodes, keep in mind, but I am on board thus far. Just in the opening episode where you have, it's and slight spoilers, but really it's just the premise of the first episode. I love how the series encapsulates the concept of you have a guy who loves movies. He wants to make cinema. He wants to make pure cinema. And he's the head of a studio. And he just simply is not allowed to make the movies he wants to make. So in the process of that, he has to make these big shitty IP movies like the Kool-Aid movie, which kind of reminds me of the upcoming Minecraft movie. Just a big mindless IP movie, right? And then in the process of doing that, he screws over one of the best directors of all time who wants to make his masterpiece. And if that doesn't say Hollywood, nothing else does. But when it comes to the second episode of the series, which was all shot in one take, about a one-take shot in a movie, which is very meta, but I appreciated it. Seth Rogen's character in that episode 2, he's like a ticking time bomb. I have not seen a character so infuriating that I just wanted to reach through the screen and just choke, where he went, oh. That's what his character did to me in that second episode. I was just like, get out of here, man. But that's the point of it, to make you hate him, or at least I hope that was the point, because I do hate him as a character. And you're just waiting to see how everything blows up in his face by the conclusion of this series, or at least I am. So I love it, man. Huge fan of it. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Flick Pick is God. Oh, well, thank you for that. All right. Hey, John. No. It says, Stuckman became everything he hated. Well, I mean, the saying goes, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think he always had a goal in mind, and I think he was going to get to that goal no matter what. No matter how many heads you have to step on, no matter how many backs you have to stab, I'm going to get to that goal, because that's what it takes in Hollywood. You sell your soul to the devil to get to the top. I don't know, man. I guess you'd have to ask him that question. Ask him if he sold his soul. I couldn't tell you. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock once again, who says, what would you choose as a great movie where the lead actor dies? I bet you're picking Gladiator or Saving Private Ryan. Well, I could have picked those movies if you didn't steal them from me. Another movie where the lead actor dies. I mean, you got The Dark Knight Rises. I still stand by Batman sacrificed himself and he is dead. Yeah? Anybody else disagree with that? I don't know. But I would have picked Gladiator. You know me too well. I don't know. I don't know. Buffalo Bill dies in Silence of the Lambs. Do you consider him the lead actor? I don't know. That's up to you. But that's a great question for everybody watching right now. What is your favorite movie where the lead actor dies? Oh, I know. Taxi Driver. There's one. He wanted to be a vigilante, and he did, and he died by saving a 12-year-old little girl. So, hey, he went out on a bang, didn't he? But, yeah, let me know what you guys think. There's no hate. I'm just stating facts. It's just the truth. I'm telling you the truth. It's not hatred. I'm just being honest with you. All right, the next one comes from let's see. Oh, Falling Down. Ooh, that's a good one. You know, if there was any movie I could see A24 remaking, it would be like Falling Down. And I know what you're thinking. John, remakes suck. They do. But if they treated it just right, I think a new Falling Down movie, because I love that premise so much, I think that would be awesome. Gran Torino. Ooh, that's another one. Yeah, get off my lawn. Shut the fuck up. The Departed. Other good, yeah, very good one. Ooh, The Green Mile. That might be the one. I'm dancing. Or what's the song go? I'm singing in heaven? I don't remember. I just watched it a few months ago. I still think there's an alternative narrative when it comes to The Green Mile. Just putting it out there. Endgame? Okay, yeah. Iron Man. Carlito's Way I've not seen in a very long time. The Searchers, RoboCop, Braveheart. Let's see. True Grit. $1 Million Baby. I didn't care that she died. Call me soulless. I just didn't care. The Shining. In Taxi Driver, he did not die. Oh, I hate to break it to you, man. He died. He's not the ending of that film that's not reality. That's like his fantasies of grandeur coming to life. That's what he envisioned for himself as being the hero. I'm sorry to tell you this. Travis Bickle died in The Taxi Driver. He bled out through his neck. Uncut Gems, yeah, those are some good picks. I agree with them. But I might go with John Coffey, man. That's a good one. Talk about a sad ending. All right. The next one comes from... here we go. Oh, crap. It's Friesel who says, hey, John, what do you seem in your opinions on the worst movie of all... On the worst movie... What are we saying here? John, what are your opinions on the worst movie of all time? Is that the question? I think it was. I could be wrong. I'm just... worst movie of all time... It's a bit subjective, is it not? It's like, do you go with movies like The Room, or do you go with movies like The Fanatic, or do you go with other movies like, I don't know, I haven't even seen it yet, like Minecraft, or do you go with movies like Mortal Kombat 2, which, I mean, as a child, I would probably tell you that's one of my least favorite movies of all time, or do you go with the newest trend of the week and say, like, the worst movie ever made is Snow White? I don't know. I'm trying to think what I would consider the worst movie of all time, but really, to give you my worst movie of all time, it would have to be a movie that I had expectations for going in, and those expectations were not met. So if I had to think back in recent years, one of the worst movies in recent years, in the last 5 years, would probably be like Matrix Lose Your Erection. I'm talking about Matrix Resurrected. To me, that was one of the worst sequels ever made. It completely gutted itself and was a big FU to the fan base who enjoyed those films. It was like the most obligatory movie ever made. So that's probably one of my most disappointing films in the last 5 years. But I don't know. You guys let me know what the worst movie ever made is. Let me know your worst movie ever made is, subjectively speaking. Where does Street Fighter fall in? Oh, for most disappointing video game movies, it's probably like number 1 or 2. It definitely is. All right. Okay, the next one comes from... Sorry here, the chat's moving so quick. Here we go. All right. We answered this already. Social Native says, John, can we play Pick the Flick today, please? I probably won't play Pick the Flick this time. Maybe on the next live show, we'll play a game of Pick the Flick. And if you don't know what Pick the Flick is, it's where I simply get up and pick a random movie off my shelf and we talk about it. And you guys pick the random movie on my shelf. But not today. We will play it on the next live stream. The truth is, I'm just not wearing any pants right now, so I don't want to get demonetized on the YouTubes. I'm just kidding. I'm wearing some pants. But real quick, speaking of Pick the Flick, I can give you some a quick Blu-ray movie collection update. If you'd like that, I can do that. Here it goes. I got some new movies sitting here. Now, I've only seen 2 of these new movies on 4K Blu-ray. One of them is actually just a Blu-ray. But the first movie I have to talk about is Flight Risk, starring Mark Wahlberg, directed by Mel Gibson. I would probably say this is the worst Mel Gibson movie ever made. I don't know if they were going for like a dark comedy movie or if they're going through, or if they were trying to make this like a parody of 1990s action films. I'm not quite sure what they were going for. I really am not sure on the tone of this movie. I like to think they were trying to make this funny and comedic, but at times I almost doubt that. But watching Mark Wahlberg in this film with a bald cap on, actually it wasn't a bald cap, he did in fact shave his head, so I will give him some credit. But this is just a really bizarre, bad movie. Unquestionably bad. The concept sounds okay, but the execution not so much. And really it feels like a direct-to-DVD movie. And I'm really surprised Mel Gibson directed this. Keep in mind, this comes from the director of Braveheart, Apocalypto, Passion of the Christ, and now you have Flight Risk. So that's that movie. But it is on 4K, so if you guys want to check out Flight Risk, please do. The next movie I have, I feel the complete opposite about, which is Companion. This is probably my top 5 movies thus far of 2025. Really enjoyed this movie. She plays a sex robot. It's funny. It's comedic. It's everything it should be. It's got Jack Quaid in the film. I love it. I thought this was a great time. I think the comedy works. So quite enjoyed Companion. And then the next movie I received was One of Them Days. I remember seeing the trailers for this in the theater. And it's like the movie didn't even come out. Or maybe it did for one day and then it went straight to DVD. I don't know. But I haven't seen One of Them Days. I don't know if I will see One of Them Days anytime soon, but if it's a good movie, let me know. And then last, but maybe certainly least, I don't know. I have not watched this yet, and it has Ki-Hoo Kwan in it. Love Hurts, or as I like to call him, I just call him Short Round, or you can call him Data, whatever you want to call him, booby traps. But I have not watched this. I've heard nothing but bad things about it. It really feels like they were trying to capitalize on that everything, everywhere, all at once kind of vibe with him being this action badass guy. And I don't know. This felt like such a movie of the week. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to watching it, but if it was good, let me know. One of Them Days is fun. Interesting. It's actually pretty good. Well, good. That's interesting. Okay, good to know. Merly Jack says, no pants, Johnny. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, the next one comes from... the next one's coming from... Social Native, who says, John, thoughts on Harry and the Hendersons? Dude, I have not seen that movie in such a long time. I vividly remember it, for the most part. I remember the get-up of the Sasquatch in that movie. And I remember there being a family. John Lithgow was in the movie, wasn't he? And I guess I lied to you. I don't really remember a lot about the movie. I do remember seeing it multiple times. And it was one of those movies I would rent from Blockbuster on VHS because the cover. How could you not rent Harry and the Hendersons looking at the cover? Let me pull this bad boy up here. Let's see. Harry Henderson's VHS. I guess it's not as cool as I thought it was. It's okay. Yeah, it looks okay. But I remember seeing it like 20 something years ago, man. I always remember, you know what it was? I remember I went to the YMCA for karate class. Yes, I'm technically am I a blue belt or a yellow belt? I'm some belt that all you had to do is do this and you pass the test. And I passed that test that day. And I remember after the YMCA karate class, we'd always have like this room that we sat in and watched VHS movies until our parents came and picked us up. And they only had two VHS movies in this room. And it was Harry and the Hendersons and the Flintstones movie. Yeah. Oh, and the other movie that they had was Sidekicks with Chuck Norris, which definitely an underrated movie if you've never seen it. Come on, Barry, you can do it. Bella Regina says, do you think cinema is dying? I don't think cinema is dying. I think theaters are going to slowly die if things don't pick up and studios don't help themselves out. I really think the studio system is gutting themselves by these short window theatrical releases. And for me, as a dude who talks about movies on the internet, it just feels like, and my biggest complaint with these short windows of theatrical releases, there's not enough time or momentum for these movies to grow organically. Because before you know it, within a week, the movie's going to come out to streaming. And there's not much hype. There's not much conversation about movies anymore. I remember a time when a movie would come out, there was hype going into that theatrical release, and then once the movie came out, people still talked about the movie for like a month. And now on YouTube, the first day a movie comes out, yeah, some people make videos on it, and then by the next day, it's like it never existed. And we're inundated with so much content that it just gets buried down below. So I really think movies need longer theatrical windows to grow. I really do. And I think shortening that just kills all hype for movies and kills the conversation surrounding them. I think that's the biggest detriment right now. So, and also, oh, you know what? I'll just talk about it real quick. We have to talk about this. So I put this out on X yesterday. I saw this movie here. Yeah, so I watched The Lady in the Yard, and I had this to say about it. I said it's called The Woman in the Yard. Here it goes. The Woman in the Yard starts with an intriguing concept, but loses suspense halfway through, ultimately wasting its potential. The twist had the makings of something truly unsettling, but it was mishandled, resulting in a messy and underwhelming ending that raises more questions than it answers. So those are my quick thoughts on The Woman in the Yard. Now, my biggest problem, though, with the movie overall, though, was the ending and the tone was all over the place, and it didn't quite commit to the idea that it should have. And it starts off like any generic horror film, and then it wants to do something a little deeper and darker. And a lot of people have complaints about that very dark ending of the movie, and I sort of like the idea. I do to a certain degree. But the tone just was not handled appropriately leading up into that point. But as far as the movie goes, I just don't think it's very good. What did you guys think about the Woman in the Yard? I think the premise was so creepy, but halfway through they kind of reveal who the Woman in the Yard is, and I was like, ooh, you should have left this ambiguous until the end. And there's a whole other message in the film that a lot of people hate, which, once again, I think was just handled very messily. Messily so? Is that a word? The Woman in the Yard, now the Woman in My Basement. Okay, all right. John, watch Sasquatch Sunset. Yeah, okay. Maybe. But the reason I brought up The Woman in the Yard was, and I was talking about movie theaters, was I went to this showing yesterday afternoon at 5:00. Okay. I thought it would be normal. I thought the normal people would be in this horror film. All right. Because for some odd reason, every time I go to a horror film on like a Friday or Saturday, the later you go, the lower the IQ drops and the louder it gets. So I avoid those time frames when I go see movies. Okay. But I went to see this movie. We were sitting in the very last row, very back corner. 2 minutes before the movie starts, I hear this noise. I hear like a little fart sound beside me. It's like, and then there's some like fussiness happening. And I look over and there's a 3-month-old baby sitting in his mom's lap, 4 seats down. And I closed my eyes and I thought to myself, is this reality? Am I going to be punished today right now? Is this my punishment? First of all, if you have children, you don't bring them to a loud, bombastic movie where the bass of the surround sound system will blow out your baby's eardrums and they'll live the rest of their lives with hearing issues. You don't do that, first of all. Be a good parent. Have some etiquette. But secondly, you don't bring your baby to a horror film. You know, if this was a Pixar movie at 10 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, okay, whatever. But I immediately look at my wife and say, this is not going to work. We have to move seats. And I say it loud enough so the lady can hear me because I wanted her to feel really bad about herself. Just slightly bad about herself. And then we go to like the front row of the theater because there's one thing I will not deal with during my cinematic experience, and that is a little baby whining. And hey, I don't blame the baby. I don't. It's not the baby's fault. It's the mother's fault for her lack of competency and her lack of child management skills. You couldn't find a babysitter? And if you couldn't find the babysitter, why are you watching the horror film? Like, why, out of all the movies to go to Chuck E. Cheese. That's where you should be right now. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the woman in the yard. Dustin Rich says, did you tell that baby to shut up? No, I did not. It's not the baby's fault. It's the mother's fault. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from Daniel Martin, who says, John, if we lived in an alternative reality where Will Smith accepted the role of Neo in The Matrix, do you think the movie becomes pop culture hit it went on to be? No, I really think Keanu Reeves was the right choice for Neo in that role. I just don't see Will Smith in that movie with that tone. I really don't. I'm not saying it couldn't work. I'm not saying that, but I think Will Smith, he also, and maybe I'm assuming things, but it rarely feels like he takes a back seat to his characters and allow the directors to tell the story that they want to tell. He wants to always be the hero. He always wants to win. I remember vividly the one reason he didn't star in Django Unchained as Django was he thought he looked weak and he didn't come across like the hero or the good guy. And that just shows me that he doesn't get it. And it also shows me that he has a complete ego and he's a little bit insane. That's why he jumped on stage and slapped another man in the face for talking about his wife who consistently cheats on him. But anyway, so yeah, I think Keanu Reeves was the right choice for Neo in The Matrix. And plus, could you imagine Will Smith saying, I know Kung Fu? No. No way. But thanks for the question, Daniel Martin. Thank you so much, man. Okay. The movie guy says, Carl Urban is awesome. Too old to play Johnny Cage? I disagree with that. I really do disagree with that. First of all, let's just be happy that they have a quality actor playing the role of Johnny Cage in this upcoming Mortal Kombat movie, and they're not just writing some generic new guy named Kane who fights Goro in a garage, okay? And also, let's just hope and pray that they actually do have a tournament in the Mortal Kombat movie at some point. That's all I want to see. I'm not asking for too much here, am I? But when it comes to Carl Urban playing Johnny Cage, yes, please. And the thing is, when it comes to his character Johnny Cage, he is an aging B-rate actor who's not finding a lot of success in Hollywood at that point, I believe. So it sort of feels right to have Carl Urban He's not even that old. How old is Carl Urban? Is he like upper 40s? Is he 50? Either way, he still looks great, man. So I like him as Johnny Cage. Trevor Wynn says, John, have you noticed that people nowadays spend more time watching TV series over films? Most people say they don't have time for films, but then they will go binge a series. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I think if you put a good movie out there in the zeitgeist, people watch it. But I think there's something about series that people just... I think sometimes when people watch an episode of a series, it's easier to scroll on your phone and not pay as much attention sometimes. And I'm not saying that to everybody. I'm saying that with the majority of people who watch Netflix. Because I think the majority of people who have Netflix is just a subscription service of like background noise that they pay to watch. Because really they're just on their phone for like half the movie or half the TV show, and they occasionally look up and then they look back down at TikTok. That's what series are, I think, for most people. But I think we've just went into a new era where if it's a good series, we want to binge that shit. We want something to watch every night when we get home. It's safe, it's comforting, it makes us feel good, and it'll be there for the next 10 episodes or what have you. So, like, I mean, really, if you, it's one of those things. Like, would you rather take a really good 2-hour movie, or would you rather have a really good series that's 10 episodes and 10 plus hours long? It's like you get 10 hours with this and only 2 hours with this. Which one's more valuable? Yeah, I don't know. But I think that might be half of it. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, once again, who says, I'm guessing you didn't read the news earlier. Jennifer Lawrence has been cast as the lead of Tarantino's 10th film, In the Heat, a story on an actress trying to make it big in Hollywood. Production is expected to begin January or summer 2027. Ooh, I did not see that today. Okay. In the Heat will be Tarantino's 10th film. Jennifer Lawrence, huh? Interesting. Okay. I mean, it sounds good. I have faith in Tarantino. I think the film critics sounded like a much more intriguing premise to me, but okay, sounds good. Let's hope it's good. Jake Tammon says, thoughts on Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. I think the first Pirates of the Caribbean is phenomenal. That is what an action blockbuster summer movie should be. The second movie's fine. Definitely doesn't have as much rewatchability. And by the third movie, when you had all three main characters and they all became pirates and they're all twirling around in a funnel shooting each other, that's where my brain just started leaking out of my ear and it puddled up on the floor, and I looked down at it and said, why is this big giant lady turning into crabs? I don't know, but she exploded into crabs. So those are my thoughts on the Pirate of the Caribbean trilogy. I think they all progressively get worse as they go on. And as far as the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, I saw it in theaters. I made a review for it, but man, I don't remember much about it. Wasn't that with Javier Bardem and then Jack Sparrow? Did he ride a shark or fight a shark? That's what I remember about that movie. Alejandro, how's it going, man? Says, Daredevil thankfully is good, but not as good as Netflix one. And we are picky about how things are shot, and some scenes just look like trailers, and the action can be choppy. But I don't want to be negative. Props to Disney for not pulling a She-Hulk. Oh yeah, you got to give it to Disney. At least they kind of like gave you what Daredevil was on Netflix. Maybe it's not as gritty, but the soul and the spirit still exists. Now keep in mind, when it comes to Daredevil Born Again, I'm only on episode 3, or am I not? I'm on episode 4. I think I'm on episode 4 now. And to me, Daredevil has never been a binge-worthy series. Hear me out for a second. I think a little bit of that series goes a long way. And the fact that they take 6 episodes to give him the suit, and by the way, I'm sure you saw the suit. It's black, it's awesome, it has the double D's on it. Looks awesome, right? But it just, some of those episodes just feel like filler. And my one big complaint with Daredevil Born Again is it just feels like it takes so long to make the obvious point sometimes. But once again, I just got on episode 4. So I'm a little bit behind, but I'm catching up. So give me time. All right. The next one comes from Just Cash Out says, thoughts on the movie Memento. I've seen Memento probably 2 times. And I think that was, I remember watching Batman Begins and not really knowing anything about Christopher Nolan. And then I went and watched Memento. And I liked it. I thought it was a pretty clever, small budget movie. It's not one of my favorite Nolan movies. And some people say Memento is their favorite. It's not mine. And Beyond the Dark Knight trilogy, if I had to pick one of my favorite Nolan movies, I'd probably go with like, oh God, probably The Prestige. Yeah, I'm gonna go with The Prestige. I do like me some Inception, but it doesn't hold up as well as some of his other movies. So I'm gonna go with The Prestige. All right, the next one comes from Social Native, who says, John, what happened to your dog that plays dead? Well, it died. I moved and I was going to move to a townhouse and they did not allow animals at that townhouse, which sucked. And, it technically wasn't really, long story short, it was actually my ex's dog that she sort of ghosted me with at the time. And I couldn't move with the animal to a townhouse, which sucked. So I had to give her away to a friend who had a huge yard and a field. And so I had only had that dog for like 6 months. So yeah, I had to give her to a friend of a friend. But she turned out, she's happy. I haven't really talked to that friend in a couple years, but last I knew she was doing very well. All right, here the next one goes. It says, I'm a lost boy, John. How phenomenal was Patrick Bateman's upper body strength? He carried a chainsaw like it was an electric toothbrush. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, naked nevertheless. And first and foremost, there's only 2 things that terrify me in life, and I won't tell you what the first one is, but I will tell you what the second one is, and that is running down a hallway naked with a chainsaw. Could you imagine? Anything could happen. One slip of that chainsaw, you're done. Say goodbye. No, thank you. But his precision when he dropped it from 40 stories right on that hooker's head, perfect aim. Patrick Bateman. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next one comes from Hiram Lavonis, who says, Hiram, I always get your name wrong. You know that. Hiram Lavonis. Here it goes, buddy. What's Timothy Chalamet's appeal? Timothy Chalamet? Well, first of all, let's step back and look at why he has a job in Hollywood. It's called nepotism. His parents know people. I believe his mom's a casting director or something like that. He's a good-looking, cute guy. He fits a lot of roles. He can act. He has some acting ability. He's like the next big thing in Hollywood. I get it. I do. The next one comes from Logan CD. He was good in Dune. I like him in Dune. Logan CD says, John, my girl told me she's never watched the Dark Knight trilogy. I instantly left her. Was I justified? Long live Batman Begins. Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't even look back, man. How can you respect someone who's never just taken the time to watch the Dark Knight trilogy, let alone any of the movies? No. You made the right call. Trevor Wynn says, I find it kind of depressing. Films are usually higher quality in terms of production, story, and acting. TV has a certain storytelling element that appeases people nowadays that I don't get. We have to understand the production timing for TV shows is much more limited. I mean, what a movie, I mean, you have to understand a 2-hour movie gets 6 months of shooting, and then not to even mention the pre-production and post-production that goes into it. But then you have a TV series that you might have to shoot 10 episodes in 6 months. So you have to understand, to a certain point, sacrifices need to be made, and not everything can be as epic or cinematic as it maybe you want it to be. But then you have other series that do look epic and cinematic, you know, like the upcoming Stranger Things series. Like each one of those episodes, I'm hoping feels like its own little movie. And if anything if that stands true to what season 4 was, I have faith in it. But I think that's just part of it. But when you go back and look at things like Game of Thrones, there were some episodes in there that were better than movies. Like some of the big battle sequences, like Battle of the Bastards. Dustin Rich has a question here, and it is, I have a little interest in Thunderbolts, but can we all agree John Walker did nothing wrong and was the best character in Falcon and Winter Soldier? I thought he was by far the most interesting character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because I just think Falcon is sort of boring, and Winter Soldier, I've seen him so many times. I like conflicted characters. I like when you have a character where their ideology is the ends will justify the means. I like characters like that. I'm not saying that they're good guys. They're definitely not Boy Scouts, but they'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. And I just like characters like that. All right. Alan says, look at us, just two good-looking blokes having a great time. Well, thanks for that, Alan. Thank you so much. But yeah, you guys are all good-looking blokes, so take that how you will. And thanks for joining me, guys. How are you guys doing tonight? And real quick in the chat, if you guys want to, tell me the city and state that you guys are watching from. Don't include your address, just the city and state. Let me know where you're watching from. Share that down below. If you want to get a little more intimate with it, you can share that as well. Are you watching on your phone? Are you laying in the fetal position in bed, crying right now, watching me? Are you watching me on a desktop computer? Please share those thoughts down below. Riley says, John, have you seen any episodes of Invincible? I have not. People have been telling me for the last 4 months, watch Invincible, John. And I will watch it at some point, I promise you. I did just watch a Netflix series that came out 4 years ago called Made with Margaret Qualley. I sort of enjoyed that. No one talks about that series. I think it's actually pretty good. I like series about the human element. All right, who do we got in here? Let's see. Novasonic from Richmond, Virginia. We got Mooney from Calgary. We got Enrique from Guadalajara, Mexico. Michael from Knoxville, Tennessee. Springfield, Massachusetts. We got Jack here from Florida. We got Cesar from Chicago. Billy from Detroit, Michigan. You're just up the road from me, a couple hours away, man. Novasonic says, watching on my Xbox on TV. Dustin Rich says, Akron, Ohio, home of Swenson's. I used to live in Akron, Ohio. That is one town I probably will never go back to. Brody Weaver says, Illinois. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching so much. You guys are too nice. I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So if you don't know where that is, that's okay. You're not missing out on much. All right, the next one comes from Caleb, who says, John, I've been with you on this stupid journey of life since 2011. 14 years, man. Keep the live streams going. We love you and your personality. You make this world better. Never forget that. Well, thank you for that. That does mean a lot. And I'm not just saying that. That really does mean a lot. It's comments like that that make me want to push record on a video camera. Thank you for that. You just gave me energy in life. And I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. Thank you. Thank you so much, Caleb. Well, here's to 11 more years. And real quick side note here, This October will be 15 years I've been making YouTube videos on this channel. 15 years. Did you hear what I said? I'm getting too old for this shit. I'm a legacy character at this point. But yeah, we will definitely hang out on that 15-year anniversary right here on this channel. We'll do a big celebration live stream. I'll bring some party poppers, some blow pops, whatever you guys want, some baby oil. I don't know how weird you want to get. We can get that weird, though. I'm not afraid. And we will hang out. And I might I probably will make a brand new My Top 20 Movies of All Time video as well. Because the last time I did that was, I don't know, like 11, 12, 13, 14 years ago. So it's long overdue. And some of the movies change, but some of the movies will always stay the same on that list. All right. You guys are still chiming in with where you guys are from. I am reading them right here on the side here. We got Asif, or is it Asif or Asif from New York, Corpus Christi, Illinois. The Angry Gamer, I can't reveal my location due to my involvement in the Witness Protection Program. Same here, man. Daniel Martin says Indiana in the building. Kentucky, yeah, you guys are all over the Midwest. So thanks. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Conch. Once again, man, thank you so much, man. Here it goes. My present coordinates. Okay. John, can you read? No, you cannot. My present coordinates are El Paso, Texas. Getting ready to move, though. Also, I shall add Casino Royale to the list, good sir. Also, you mentioned sci-fi space adventures earlier. Ever dabbled in The Expanse? I think I tried to watch part of The Expanse. Let me look at a picture of it. I watched. Is this on HBO or Apple TV or something? 2015, The Expanse. It was on Amazon. I feel like I watched the first episode of this and I could not get into it. It came out the first episode in November 2015. I've never really watched all of it. I want to say I watched the first episode and I just I couldn't get into it. But people seem to love it. It's got a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I don't think I've watched this. And maybe I watched that first episode when it first aired back in 2015. So maybe I should go back and give it a visit. But thanks for the recommendation, man. And yeah, if you've never seen Casino Royale, just stop watching this. Whatever this is, stop watching this and go watch that. I promise you. It's far more entertaining and provocative. And Daniel Craig's muscle definition in that movie, oh man. Top notch. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from here we go. The Trinity says, watch a puppy get kicked or new Stuckman's reviews. Man, I'll watch the reviews. I don't want to see a puppy get kicked. Come on. All right. Neil McCauley says, have you read Michael Mann's Heat 2? It's so good, and it's awesome to be back in the world. Mann turned in his script for the movie recently. So I was meaning to read the book for Michael Mann's Heat 2. I really was. But I have not got around to doing that. Is it, you say it's good? I might just do that. I was looking for a good book to read. And the fact that they're actually going to make it into a movie kind of is more exciting. I love me some Michael Mann's Heat. I really do. Val Kilmer in that movie and De Niro and Pacino. Hoo-ha, motherfucker. I love it. So maybe I will read that novel. You say it's good, I'm going to trust you. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what is the dumbest thing you believed as a child? I mean, we all believed in Santa Claus, didn't we? We were lied to. We were manipulated. It was a control tactic. But then again, well, I was going to go somewhere with that. Maybe I shouldn't. Probably Santa Claus. You know what? Actually, you know what? Santa Claus is fine. I believed in the fucking tooth fairy. I literally believed a little fairy snuck into my window and would take my dead tooth under my pillow and give me cash for it. First of all, the fact that we're selling our body parts for cash to some creepy little fairy who sneaks in the window like a meth head at night, that in itself is questionable at best. But also, we can go further than that. I'm sure your parents told you about the Easter Bunny, who sneaks into your house and just leaves things all around. And you don't even have to be good for the Easter Bunny to show up like Santa Claus. No, he just shows up. Thank you. Thank you for these little ducks that are made out of marshmallows that are utterly disgusting, but I appreciate it. Thank you. So I think there's a multitude of fairy tale creatures that we all believed in when we were children. Yeah? All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, remember when RoboCop shot that guy in the dick? And which movie soundtrack slaps from beginning to end? Yes, I do remember that. But my favorite scene in RoboCop is when the guy is covered in mutated goo and he's running out there going, and he walks past the one guy and he's like, get away from me. And then the car just hits him and he just blows up. Best scene in RoboCop. Favorite movie soundtrack. We talked about this on the last live stream and the live stream before that over on my second channel, John Flickinger, which if you haven't subscribed to it, well, please do, because we do weekly live shows over there every week, which is why I call them weekly live shows. So the name just makes sense. But that channel is down below. I've only had the channel for 14 years. So where have you been? Favorite movie soundtrack? Listen, nothing gets me more pumped up or more nostalgic than the Mortal Kombat soundtrack. Let's all be honest here. Now let's play a little clip. Let's play some Mortal Kombat music. Oh, okay. Mortal Kombat soundtrack. Here we go. Oh, get ready to do some roundhouse kicks. Oh, here's that Batman State Farm commercial. All right, here it goes. Things to come. Oh, that's not even it. It's not even the song. Why would you even have that? Here, let's play this one. No. Why don't you guys have the song on YouTube? Is this it? Okay, never mind. I'm just playing the whole soundtrack here. Never mind. Hey, we tried. But it's a good soundtrack, nevertheless. It gets me pumped up. Here, let's mute this. Get off my screen! Hang on. There we go. Here it is. Well, I'll stop it. All right. Let's go to the next thing here. And the next question is, let's see. Okay, here it is. Mr. L says, how have your opinions / outlook on films changed in the last 15 years? Oh, there's definitely movies that I like more or maybe like less. I think the older you get, your tastes sort of evolve and you realize what works best for you and you kind of see the faults in your past. And there's some movies that maybe I enjoyed watching that I just don't really have the urge to rewatch as much as I did. So I definitely enjoy much more intellectual films. Not to say I didn't enjoy intellectual films. How do I say this? I think I give more films a chance now than I used to. And there's a lot of smaller scale films that I enjoy watching. Also, I'll be honest with you, like the horror genre was one genre that I always liked but never loved. But the older I've gotten, the more I enjoy a quality, well-crafted horror film, right? So those are a few things. And there's the one thing, though, I will say over the years of making YouTube videos talking about movies, there were so many movies I overlooked. I don't know why. For some reason, I had a preconceived notion about them. And I later went back and watched a lot of these movies and found myself enjoying them. Like one movie that came out originally that I did not watch for years and years was Ex Machina. I don't know why. I just never saw it. Quite enjoyed it. Another movie was like It Follows. For some reason, I just did not want to watch that movie. And then I watched it years after the fact and loved it. So I think sometimes my tastes have evolved, or maybe I give more movies a shot than I used to. So I just always expanding my scope of movies I watch, I think is always a good thing. I'll tell you another movie I had never watched, and I recently watched maybe like a year ago, Room. Not The Room. I'm talking about Room starring Brie Larson. That was a damn good movie. See, those are the types of movies I enjoy. Like simple, like dark, kind of like gritty movies based on like just the human element. Those are my favorite types of movies. Like, don't get me wrong. I love big MCU comic book movies and explosions and 9-foot tall blue aliens that make love with ponytails or cybernetic organisms that kill people. But I also like very grounded movies and simple movies as well. So yeah, did I answer the question? Maybe I did. I just think my taste overall has evolved. I like more things now than I ever have. All right, the next one comes from I'm a Lost Boy John, who says, will an asteroid destroy Earth before artificial intelligence takes over? Also, do you still take iodine pills for radiation protection? I think it's always smart to keep a stock of those ready to go. I'm just putting it out there. You never know. Do I think the Earth will be destroyed by an asteroid before artificial? I think we're about 50 years away from artificial intelligence truly ruining humanity. And maybe I'm giving that too much of a time frame. It could be 30 years, because once that trigger is pulled and that button is pushed, it's going to be rapid exponential expansion. And once it starts, there's no coming back from it. You can't undo it. Once it exists, it's going to exist. Unless we completely cut off the internet and it has no way to grow and go from point A to point B to destroy our lives. But I rest assured, AI will in one day ruin your life. It'll be really useful for like a decade. Like for a decade, it's going to be fun and useful. But then it's going to get used for all the wrong reasons. And I truly believe you could use AI as a form of terrorism very easily. So just putting all that out there, I would hope an asteroid hits our planet and we explode and vaporize before AI truly does take over. So those are my thoughts. But then again, as humanity goes, we'll probably destroy ourselves long before any of that happens. So I don't know. Let's just enjoy today and embrace each other together now. All right. But do I occasionally use ChatGPT? Yeah, I do. I do use it. But I actually just use it as like a spell check for shit I do. Other than that, I don't really use it for anything else. The next one comes from Daniel Martin. And Daniel says, John, could your 2011 self have ever imagined the advent of social media platforms like TikTok, Twitch, and Rumble? What advice would you give 2011 Johnny about the future of content creation? Yeah, short form content definitely seems the way to go if you want to gain an audience that will watch your stuff but also never actually subscribe to you. It's a weird phenomenon, and I think it's great in one sense but terrible in another, right? I think sometimes I think on TikTok there's a lot of noise with very little substance. And I just, for some reason, I can't pull the trigger on making a lot of short form content. I don't know why. For me to really get my point across, I hate having to do that in like 1 minute, because the attention span on social media content is like 4.5 seconds. So if you talk longer than that, no one's really listening to anything you say. So what would I tell 2011 version of me? I probably would have just made more YouTube videos. I think I would have just capitalized on YouTube more than I did, especially when there was less competition. And going back to like YouTube 2012 to 2016, like that was a sweet spot. You could be the first at doing a lot of things back then. And now it's very saturated. It's not just, you don't see just 10 movie reviews of the same movie. You see 10,000 reviews of the same movie on YouTube, and they all sort of just clog each other. Did I answer this question? I think I did. Yeah, but as far as social media goes, I don't think it's all that, like the fact that we have a social media app like TikTok, it's just an extended version of Vine. I mean, it almost boggles my mind that it took as long to get a TikTok as it did. It's almost mind-boggling that Instagram took as long as it did to give you the freedom to create a 1 minute video or a minute and a half video, or now I think it's going to 3 minutes. But I just think it's bizarre it took that long to get to that point. It's weird to me. But on the flip side of that, I'm glad it took as long to get there as it did, because it gave YouTube the time to grow and become like the number one platform for video sharing. And I'm glad I got to like focus on that. As far as like people who make YouTube videos and TikTok videos and Instagram videos, and they say the same thing 3 different times in 3 different variations on 3 different platforms, I think that shit's exhausting. I hate having to make a YouTube video, a TikTok video, an Instagram video, a Twitter post, or an X post. It's just like, when does it stop? And the weird thing about all those different audiences, they never cross over. Very rarely do they cross over. Like you can go to TikTok and see a dude that has 2 million subscribers and go to his YouTube channel and 2 people watch his videos. It's like they don't ever cross over with each other. Very rarely do they do. So those are my thoughts, I guess. All right. The movie guy says Ninja Assassin 2009 is phenomenal. Don't judge me. I think visually speaking, that was a cool movie. I saw it once in theaters. Never had the urge to rewatch it again, but I thought it was kind of like a cool little action movie. Daniel Martin says, what changes, if any, can movie theaters make to adjust to rapidly changing media landscape? Is their time in our cultural relevancy over with? I would hope not, because I'll tell you this right now. If the theater industry goes, so will the quality of the movies that you love. Trust me when I say that. If theaters didn't exist and you didn't have this goal when making a film to strive for, because keep in mind, with the theater industry, when you put a movie at the theater, it has to be good enough to put pants on, grab the car keys, and drive to the theater to see. It has got to be a good movie worth going to see to motivate you to do that. And if you take that out of the equation of movies and you say, okay, everything we make will just come straight to streaming. Well, guess what's eventually going to happen with films that you love? The quality will slowly decline and decline and decline. And eventually they'll find a sweet spot where it's just good enough to appease you, where it's not quite good enough to like where you would leave the house to see it at the theater, but it's just good enough to watch at home. And studios, I promise you this, it's all about the bottom line. Movies are products. Keep that in mind. And what they will do is find a sweet spot that's just good enough to keep your attention and make it just entertaining enough so you watch it at home and streaming. And there's more profitability than that, according to them. But then you get lesser quality movies. So I think the best thing for the studio system to do is, or studios or movies themselves, I think theaters hold movies to a certain standard. And once you get rid of that standard, well, the standard of filmmaking will slowly decline. That's how I see it. I really do. But also, when you get rid of the theater element, it takes away that cultural phenomenon, that weird social thing that we all enjoy doing. And that's going to this dark auditorium and we sit with each other. And everyone who has manners and etiquette are quiet and enjoy the movie. And then you have some loose cannons in there that talk and text on their phone who you just want to bash their head in with a hammer and dump hot popcorn butter in their eyeballs. But beyond all of that cultural phenomenon where we all come together to enjoy a movie and watch it together and have a conversation. And then that conversation after the film slowly grows and goes into the zeitgeist. I think once you lose that also, all momentum that movies have will die. They're going to dwindle and go away. So I don't want to see theaters die. I don't. And what do I think they can do to help increase sales? Well, I think first of all, the theatrical release time frame or the window needs to be longer. Like 20 days, 17 days, or whatever it is right now is just not long enough. It's just not. It should be at least a month. Also, I think physical media should come back, just putting it out there. But the other thing is, I wish theaters, the theater I go to in town, which is by far the nicest theater we have, because it's the only one that has reclining seats. And by the way, I will never go to another theater by choice that doesn't have reclining seats. I'm sorry. I'm at a point in my life, maybe I'm just getting too old, but my lower lumbar support needs that reclining seat. Plus, it just gives you more space. Okay? But I think movies need to invest in themselves more than they have and make going to the cinema a true event. Make it worth going. Like when I go to my theater, it's like kind of run down. It looks boring. It makes you tired when you walk into it. As it's all pastel colors. It's like yellow and purple. It's hideous. But if you walked into a theater and the lobby had like movie props and crazy shit happening and like, I don't know, lasers and arcade video games and really set the vibe, that would be a fun time. But also, I understand that theaters have to charge a premium for concessions. I understand that you have to charge 10,000 times more the cost of popcorn than it actually cost you. But if you just found a sweet spot with the pricing, like don't charge me $9 for a box of candy. Charge me $4. Charge me $3. I think you'll be more profitable if you actually make it affordable to the point where I won't sneak the shit in my pocket to come see the movie. I'll actually just come to the theater to buy it at a convenience. But I think theaters should invest in themselves. But mostly, I feel like every theater should be ran like the Alamo Drafthouse is. And what I mean by that is, if you talk, if you text, you get kicked out. And if everyone who wants to pay to go see a film and get immersed into that experience knows for a fact that when they go to this theater, they know that they're going to watch it with an audience who's quiet and they can enjoy that film, I think if you had that reassurance, I think people would come back to the theater. So what does that take? I guess it just takes like one staff member standing in a theater stating the rules before the movie starts and just kind of watching the audience to make sure everyone shuts the fuck up. So I think those are a few things the theater industry should do to have people come back. And I think if they implemented those things, I would be happy about it. I don't know about you, but what else can the theaters do to have audiences return? Let me know. What should the movie theaters do? Share your thoughts down below. Okay. The next one comes from, and let's see. Dustin Rich says the Neon Demon, Johnny. It's on my to watch list. The Neon Demon is there, man. I promise you. The next one comes from the movie guy who says John always watches what he wants. I guess in a way I do. I watch what I'm in the mood for. I hate forcing myself to watch something in a genre I'm not in the mood for, right? Because you're never going to consume it the right way. And that's my best advice to you. Don't force yourself to watch something you're not in the mood to watch. I'm not saying don't watch it eventually, but just savor the flavor for that certain day and time. Caesar says the AMC near me needs a remodel. The AMC down the street from me, all of the seats smell like piss because I think people piss in them. And the last time I went there, their bathroom literally had like water coming down the wall. The wallpaper was bubbling over. It looked like it had mildew behind it. There was only one urinal that worked, and the other ones had like duct tape and caution tape wrapped around them. And I'm like, I'm not coming here. Like, if you can't even take care of your restroom, like, imagine how clean the popcorn machine is. Like, I don't trust it. So I don't go there anymore. Riley Skywalker says, nothing says watching flick pick like eating popcorn. Yeah, if you guys have a salty, delicious treat right now, I hope you guys do, and I hope you're consuming it. I wish I had one myself, but unfortunately I do not. All right, the next one comes from... let's see. Does Kevin Hart movies mostly flop? I think they all should. I don't like Kevin Hart. I don't like him in movies. I don't think he's funny. I don't think he adds anything to any movies. And just from everything I've read about Kevin Hart as a real person, it just seems like a little asshole. He seems like a douche. I don't know. He seems really unlikable and egotistical. And Sour Patch Kids, yes. Hawson says, I saw somebody getting kicked out of the theater recently. Oh, did you? Yeah, last time I went to the theater, there was a little baby sitting beside me. That made me want to get kicked out of the theater. All right, the next one comes from Mukul says, John, I swear to God, I'm also not wearing pants. Well, hey, I'm actually wearing shorts. I was just kidding earlier. Philip says, the Cineplex here in Toronto, Canada needs to keep their damn concessions open later. Yeah, it does seem like they close concessions a bit early. It's like, is it that hard to have the kid behind the concession stand just stand there like an extra 20 minutes longer? Like, you guys pay him $3 an hour. I'm sure you can afford it. I mean, the popcorn costs $27. The drink costs $10. You can't afford to keep that kid back there just for an extra hour. And that's coming from a dude who used to work at the concession stand at the movie theater. I will tell you this. The reason that they might close early, though, is because they have to clean the popcorn machine, the hot dog machine, and that was awful. I hated doing all of those things. And no matter how much you clean the popcorn machine, it's still dirty. I'm just putting it out there. It's still filthy. And never, ever... Don't say I never gave you guys advice. This is the best advice I will ever give you on this channel. Never, ever, ever, if you order a hot dog from the movie theater and they have to go in the back to grab said hot dog, do not eat it. Do not eat that hot dog, okay? Just don't. Now, if they grab it off the hot dog rack in the front and you see what they're doing and you see their hands, it might be okay. But if they go to the back, don't do it. All right, the next one comes from Night King 01. John, did you get around to watching Funny Games? I did not get around to watching Funny Games. I'm sorry. Didn't we talk about this before? I know you asked before, but... No, I did not watch Funny Games. I'm sorry, I did not. All right, the next one comes from. Does this? By the way, guys, does the chat look a little juddery? Does it look a little juddery? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's the first time I've done a live stream on this channel in 5 years, so I haven't quite got all the technical kinks worked out just yet. All right, Daniel Martin says, John's next Rotten Tomatoes review, good enough to put pants on. I mean, pretty much. I mean, if any movie is good enough to put pants on to go to the theater, then okay, it earned a little bit of respect from me. The last movie I enjoyed that I saw in theaters was Death of a Unicorn. I thought that was pretty good. I don't think it was great. But I definitely think if you're in the mood for a comedy, an A24 style comedy with Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, where they in fact fight a magical unicorn and there is some sort of a Jurassic Park vibe, I think Death of a Unicorn will be entertaining enough to watch. So I do think it's worth putting pants on to go to the theater. But thanks for the question, Daniel. Cube Review says the studio is pretty funny on Apple. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I love it. I love it. I'm looking forward to the third episode, which comes out, I think, tomorrow, right? Have I seen Supernatural? I've never watched Supernatural. Rocky IV soundtrack deserves a movie. Dude, that's all Rocky IV is, though, is a soundtrack. It's literally like, it's 3 rock ballads, 3 training montages, and then then there's a boxing match and the movie's over. That's all Rocky IV is. And I have no complaints with that. None. The entire sequence where he climbs to the mountaintop and screams Drago, oh yeah, that's pure cinema. Chris says, what do they do in the back, John? There's just some secrets I'm going to keep to myself. But what have I seen them do in the back? Well, first of all, those hot dogs that you get from the back, they just toss that shit in a microwave. They just toss it in a microwave. And you're lucky if the dude in the back puts a glove on to do it. Oh, and by the way, when they toss it in the microwave, at my theater, they just tossed it flat on the microwave. There wasn't like a special tray or a plate. No, they tossed it right on the flat surface of that microwave. It's disgusting. Don't do it, man. Don't ever get a hot dog from the back. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? All right, the next one comes from GF Hostman, who says, John, did you see the poster of I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot? Probably will flop. Yeah, I did see that poster, but let's check it out together here. Hang on.
If I could turn back
Shut up. All right. Okay, come on. All right, let's find this poster. I know what you did last. I know what you did in 1998 when the original movie came out. There, here it is. Okay, let's check out this poster here. Here it is. So yeah, I mean the poster's pretty simple, very minimalistic, as the kids would say these days. I think it looks fine. I mean, you get the bloody hook. It says, "I know what you did last summer." Blah blah blah. My biggest question with this movie though is the same? Is it going to be the same twist? Is it just going to be the fisherman guy that you randomly hit with their car that wanted vengeance on these children, these stupid rich kids who all deserve to get killed? I mean, they all deserved what they got. I mean, you don't just kill a guy with your car and throw him into the water. You deserve to get butchered later on. Okay, so I do stand by that. I'm on the side of the dude with the hook, and I know what you did last summer. I think the poster looks fine. I hope the movie's good. I don't know what else they're going to add to it that the original didn't already have. Yeah, if I could turn back time, the ad. Yeah, thanks. GF Hostman says, how did you react to the Seinfeld finale? Did it suck or are you surprised? Luckily, Curb Your Enthusiasm makes up for it. Yeah, it kind of does. I thought the Seinfeld season finale was sort of disappointing. Now, keep in mind, it's actually based on a novel. The Seinfeld season finale is actually based on a novel where some characters get stuck in a small town and accused of a crime they didn't commit. And they try to interject that into a Seinfeld episode, which I don't think really worked. And I was not a fan of it. I think simple would always be better. So, yeah, I didn't love it too much. What's with the peanuts? First, you got to open them, then you got to eat them. Jaden says, John, do you think there is a better movie critic out there than Lights, Camera, Jackson? No, I do not. I do not. His review of Inception when he was 10 years old was just truly riveting. It was the film analysis I think we all needed and deserved. I mean, do you guys remember his words? Well, I don't know. I just didn't understand it, so I didn't like it. I give it a D. Well, that's because you're a stupid 10-year-old kid who shouldn't be watching the movie because your brain is still bubblegum. So yeah, I agree with you. Q Review says the Kool-Aid movie. Yeah, at this point in Hollywood, I think the Kool-Aid movie would actually turn like $1 billion profit. Keep in mind, we got the Barbie movie. It did very well. I think the Kool-Aid movie could do well. I would watch it. I would almost rather see a Kool-Aid movie than a new Barbie movie. Just putting it out there. Jeff Hostman says, favorite Breaking Bad episode. Mine is Walter blowing up Tuco's place. Well, that's a good episode. Was it called Breaking Point? Was that the episode where was it Crawl Space, or was it Breaking Point? I enjoy the scene where Skyler gives all the money to Ted. Yeah. And then Walter White just loses his shit in that crawl space and starts laughing hysterically. To me, for some odd reason, that gave me chills. But also, do you guys like the episode The Fly? Where he's down in the lab just trying to kill a fly for the entire episode? That was one whole episode. But I'll tell you another episode in Breaking Bad I actually really enjoy. I like the episode where they break down in the RV out in the desert and have to like figure out how to fix it. I liked that as well. It was almost like sort of a relaxing, subdued episode of Breaking Bad. I liked that. But Face Off would probably be the most thrilling episode, would it not? Yeah, someone said Fly is great. Jeff Hostman says Breaking Bad, Crawl Space. Yeah, that was intense. Brody says Crawl Space. Yeah. Yeah, some people like the Fly episode. That's surprising. A lot of people hated that. They thought it was complete filler. Hosam says worst comic book movie. I don't know if we even have enough time to dive into the worst comic book movie. I mean, maybe Catwoman. Probably Catwoman. We'll go with Catwoman. Like, I can't think of anything that's as offensively bad as Catwoman. Elektra's just really boring. Fantastic Four stick was pretty atrocious. Especially if you were looking forward to a Fantastic Four movie. I could see how you would be very disappointed in that. Enrique says, Austin Butler on Heat 2 is giving me depression. Oh, whoa. They cast Austin Butler in Heat 2? Does he play Val Kilmer's son? Who is he playing in that movie? I could only see him playing like Val Kilmer's son. Who else? Let me know. I've done no research on Heat 2. I kind of wanted to go in fresh. Riley says Kraven the Hunter. I would say that's the worst. Is that even the worst comic book movie of the last 2 years, though? You did see Madam Web, right? I think that's a worse comic book movie than Kraven the Hunter. Yeah, The Spirit was pretty bad. What's next? A Fortnite movie? You know what? I think a Fortnite movie could be cool. I think a Fortnite movie could be way more entertaining than a Minecraft movie. I never... Listen, I played Minecraft one time for like 7 minutes. I was like, oh, this is all you do. This is it? Oh, okay. And if you like it, hey, kudos to you, man. I get it. But I used to play SimCity for hours on end. So I get having a weird obsession with a game where, but I truly think a Fortnite movie could be kind of cool. I mean, it's just a battle royale with crazy kooky characters. I think you could actually do something with that. Watch Amazon Prime make it into a series, like a $1 billion series. I could see that happening. Don't give them ideas, John. Yeah, we should just be quiet now. Honestly, Spawn 1997 is just dog's poop besides the look of Spawn. Well, the funny thing about Spawn 1997 was during the third act of the movie, they literally ran out of money. So that's why it looks like an N64 video game graphic at the end. Tracy says, what are your thoughts on Avengers Doomsday cast reveal? I did talk about that sort of just very quickly in the beginning of this live show, but first of all, I will say this. Am I a fan of the way that they announced all the new cast members of Avengers Doomsday by taking 5 hours and slowly showing the back of each chair with a name on it? No, not really. I think that's a complete blatant lack of disrespect towards your audience. But also, on the flip side of that, it was brilliant marketing. All they did was show you some names on the back of a chair for 5 hours, and the entire internet was buzzing about it for an entire day. So in that sense, I guess it worked. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it definitely looks like there's way more characters in this than I thought there would be. But the thing that gets me most excited about the Doomsday cast announcement is the fact that they're having all the old X-Men members come back. That is something I never thought I would see. You're having Nightcrawler, you're having Beast, you're having James Marsden as Cyclops returning. So it's essentially going to be the old X-Men fighting the Avengers. And I'm sure Doctor Doom is manipulating it and pulling the strings and having them battle each other until they come to the realization that they're both good guys, and then they team up together to do whatever. But I think by injecting the older X-Men in this, somehow, some way, it's either they're all going to die or we're going to have a nice send-off for those characters. That way we can introduce the new version of the X-Men and finally get the X-Men mutants into live action and start going through the go down that route, which is what I want to see. Because listen, I like the MCU, I liked what we've done, but I feel like we're at a point where we can give some of these MCU characters a break, like the Avengers, for example, and I'm looking forward to focusing on the X-Men. For me, the X-Men have just always been more fascinating characters, and I think there's just so much they can do. There's a million great, fascinating X-Men characters. I want to see them come into live action. So I can't wait to see. They have like 20 years of movies they can make with X-Men. So the fact that it's finally happening gets me excited, but also the fact that, like I said, the older X-Men crew is coming back. And keep in mind, these are only the casting choices that they want us to know. What don't we know? I don't know. But also, with all that said, don't they start filming Doomsday like soon? Or did they already start filming it? Because I just don't comprehend how this movie's coming out in just one more year. Like, you have 75 characters. You have this ensemble comic book movie. I don't truly comprehend how they're going to put all this together within a year. And my biggest fear with this movie is they're going to cut corners to get that movie out in time. I just don't see how you're going to put together this like 2.5 hour epic film with all the special effects and make it happen in the next year. That's a lot of shit to make happen. So that's my fear with it, but I am looking forward to it. So those are my thoughts on the casting. The movie guy, how's it going, man? Thank you for the question. And the movie guy says, "Hey, John, are you a fan of the original X-Files series, season 1 through season 9? I think the remake by Disney will make Mulder gay and black and Scully the testosterone-filled conspiracy theorist." Are they remaking the X-Files? What? I feel like I heard of this. Yeah, the new version of the X-Files reboot is reportedly in development with Black Panther director Ryan Coogler at the helm, and creator Chris Carter has expressed his support for the project, acknowledging the challenges of tackling conspiracy theories in the modern era. Why can't we just tackle them? Or here's another idea. Why does it have to be set in modern era? Anything in modern era sucks. I'm sorry. It just, if they would make the X-Files set back in the 1990s or even the early 2000s, before you, like, I'll tell you what ruins TV shows: people having a phone in their hand. It takes away from the mystery and the suspense. When you can make a call and fix any problem instantaneously, I think some of the storytelling elements, like, are a bit ruined. I would like to see an X-Files reboot. Now, when it comes to the original X-Files, I'm very spotty at best. I've seen multiple episodes, but I never binged the series to watch all of it. I remember some cool episodes along the way, but I never really watched the entire series. My stepdad would always watch it, and I remember kind of like walking into the room when he was watching it halfway through an episode and partially watching part of it, but I was never really into it. But I always thought it had one of the best theme songs of any TV series ever made, and I thought the casting was really good in it, but yeah, I would be curious about a reboot, but I could see them making some creative choices that would hinder it a bit. But who knows? Let's wait and see what they actually do. Dustin Rich says Doomsday sounds so pathetic and desperate. Disney is on life support and needs to pull the plug. See, I actually am looking forward to Doomsday. I'm glad that they're just injecting like X-Men characters and making Robert Downey Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom as a villain excites me way more than King ever would. Like my favorite thing that Disney has done in the last 5 years was stopping the King arc of having a villain, because I don't think he's that interesting of a villain, and making Robert Downey Jr. Doom. I think that's a far more interesting villain I would like to see. And by the way, speaking of Jonathan Majors, have you guys seen the movie Magazine Dreams? I've been meaning to make a review on this, and maybe I'll do it tomorrow, but no one cares about this movie and no one's talking about it. But Magazine Dreams just might be my favorite movie of 2025, even though it was technically made in like 2023, and it got shelved for a couple years due to the Jonathan Majors incident and a few other things dropping distribution. But nevertheless, Magazine Dreams is my type of movie. If you haven't seen it, please do, man. And it's produced by Dan Gilroy, who directed Nightcrawler and wrote Nightcrawler. And it has like that same kind of vibe to it, which just speaks to my soul. So I highly recommend watching Magazine Dreams if you haven't. If you want something unsettling, but kind of like dark and edgy, that has like certain tones of like movies like The Wrestler and Nightcrawler, definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. All right, the next one comes from David Hildebrand, who says, what Batman villains would you like to see live action, not necessarily for the first time? Mr. Freeze and Scarecrow, for me. So much potential. And by the way, real quick, thanks, movie guy, for the question, man. Very, very generous question. Thank you so much. But as far as David's question goes, I've said this once and I'll say it again. If you want to have Bane come back again and give me a more fantastical version of Bane, where he's maybe not played by Tom Hardy, but make him a little bigger and imposing in size, I think you could do another version of Bane. I do. But if you're talking about like a villain in Batman the Brave and the Bold, where they're going to go that more fantastical approach with Batman and not make it so grounded, I definitely think there's something you could do with Mr. Freeze in that universe. And also Scarecrow. I think there's way more you could do with the hallucinations that the character Scarecrow. I think there's more you could do with that character as well. I'm trying to think of like another character I'd like to see that I'd actually like to see in live action. I mean, I was kind of excited to see Deathstroke at one point, but then that got canceled. So maybe a good version of Deathstroke would be kind of cool. But thanks for the question, man. Jay Everyday says Magazine Dreams is a great movie. It is, man. You guys should see it. If you missed it, check it out. This Vampire Heart says Jonathan Majors is really good in the show Lovecraft Country. Underrated actor for sure. I have not seen Lovecraft Country. I've not seen that. IMDb listed Butler and Adam Driver as cast members. Yeah, isn't the new Heat movie like? So it's a sequel, and doesn't it follow young versions of the characters like a prequel? So if it's a prequel, does Adam Driver play? Is he playing like Al Pacino, or is he playing Robert De Niro? And is Austin Butler playing Val Kilmer's character? I don't know. Anthony says, have you seen Magazine Dreams? Yeah, well, yeah, I was just talking about it. Great movie. Check it out. It tackles so many subjects like body dysmorphia, bodybuilding. He's taking steroids. He freaks out on stage. There's one scene in Magazine Dreams that reminds me of another scene in Whiplash, where it's like you have this character who's obsessed and this is his passion, but he goes a little too far for it. It kind of has that same tone. Lord Krazar says, that sounds terrible. What, the Heat casting? Yeah, it does sound a little odd, doesn't it? Anthony Osorio says, will you do Blu-ray DVD update videos in the future for late night flick buys? I'll probably do like a 4K movie collection at some point. That'll probably be like the next Blu-ray video I do, where I talk about like all the new 4K movies I picked up over the last couple years. But by the way, if you missed it, because I put it on my second channel, I do have a brand new Flick Trip video on the John Flickinger channel. Once again, the link is down below. I posted the video like a week or two ago. And the story behind it is I was going to go to a press screening of Snow White that was 3 hours away, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So rather than do that, I made a Flick Trip video that day. And it was almost cathartic and quite enjoyable. So if you missed that video, the link is down below. Q Review says 2005 has been pretty much Mia, except Magazine Dreams. Well, the year just got started. We're only 3 months in. Come on. But there's been a few good movies. I liked Magazine Dreams. I liked Companion. All right. I'm going to answer a few more questions, guys. I'm going to wrap up this live stream because I have not eaten dinner yet. I'm a little hungry, and my belly is rumbling. And also, I have a Gatorade right here. I can get your questions in as I chug this Gatorade. What the thucks? Gatorade is better. All right. Ernman Jabber says, have you purchased any Arrow 4K releases? I just picked up American Gigolo. Oh, with Richard Gere? I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I haven't picked up anything recently. Didn't Arrow Video put out over the top 4K release? I need to pick that up at some point. That'd probably be the next one. Yeah. How do you think Sinners will be, John? I have a feeling it won't be that great. First and foremost, the one trailer I have seen more times in the theater in the last 4 months is Sinners. I'm tired of watching it already. Now, I know a lot about the movie, more than they're showing you in the trailers. And I will say, it's the premise to me doesn't sound all that captivating, to be honest with you. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I'll definitely check it out. But I don't think it'll be like this memorable movie that is going to span the test of time. Have you seen Warfare? No, I have not. It comes out this week, though, or it comes out early April. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to check it out, though. John, do you laugh when Mark Wahlberg screams, "Let me in the house"? I laugh every time Mark Wahlberg talks. What are you talking about? Hey, Sandy, your mother phone me. What are you doing over there? Did you see the set photos of the Odyssey? Yes, I did. I love them. I think the set photos look beautiful. If you haven't followed me on X, you should, if you want to, do so. The link is down below. I share some thoughts on movies and give my quick little reviews on things there. But I did share some set photos of the Odyssey a few weeks ago. And I will say this about the Odyssey. There was one shot that someone just took of with a cell phone of some boats in the water. And just the behind the scenes making of the film of Odyssey, that one picture could be a wallpaper that looks beautiful. It could be a painting. You know, that's how great just like the set photos of the Odyssey look so far. So that is by far my most anticipated movie coming up. All right, I'm going to answer just a few more questions and wrap up this live show. So here we go. The next one comes from Coach, who says, and by the way, Coach, once again, man, thanks for all the questions tonight. You're too nice, too kind. And I hope you're doing good. But here it goes. What's for dinner tonight, bud? What's for dinner? My wife did make cheese toasties earlier, but I'm still hungry. So I might eat some pizza bread. Some frozen pizza bread. I think it's from Red Baron. But nevertheless, it's the best pizza bread I've ever had in my entire life. So I'm probably going to do that. Put some crushed red peppers on it. Drink a Sprite Zero. Oh, watch Raw tonight on Netflix. Oh, yeah, give it to me. That's probably what I'm eating tonight. I'm cooking up some chicken. Got to get that protein. You doing another live stream before you head off to LA. Also, you have a favorite Mikey Fassbender flick? Michael Fassbender flick? Shame? I don't know. I like Michael Fassbender as Magneto. So if I had to pick one for that, it would be like Days of Future Past. But let's go for like a better Michael Fassbender movie. Let's see here. What do we got? In Alien Covenant, he plays the flute. That was quite thrilling, wasn't it? Assassin's Creed, huh? Is that anyone's favorite Michael Fassbender movie? I'm looking at his filmography. Oh shit, he's been in a lot of bad movies. Jonah Hex. Actually, you know what? Going back to him as Magneto, I would say X-Men First Class is his best performance as Magneto. When he actually plays like a very angry dude who survived the Holocaust in the 1960s. I think that was his best performance. Trespass Against Us. I watched that. Ooh, Inglourious Bastards could be one. But that wasn't like a Michael Fassbender movie. So I don't know. I don't know. I like him as Magneto in X-Men First Class. That might be my favorite performance of his. I mean, he was in Black Bag, which I sort of said you should just watch at home and streaming. But, God, he was Steve Jobs. I don't know. That's a great question for you guys watching. What is your favorite Michael Fassbender performance? I like him as Magneto. I really do. I liked him in Shame, but damn, that's a depressing movie. You don't want to watch that with the family. Or maybe you do. I don't know. But either way, man, and as far as doing another stream before, I go to LA Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. So I have two options. I'll either do a live stream from my hotel room in Los Angeles on my phone, which might be kind of a crappy live show, or I might do another one tomorrow night before I have to go to sleep. So there might be another one tomorrow on my second channel, John Flickinger. So once again, that link is down below. Subscribe to that channel so you don't miss it. But we might do a live stream there tomorrow. Because there are some other things I want to talk about that I haven't talked about in this live show. I was just kind of treating this one as like a Q&A Ask Me Anything. The movie guy says, have a good night, John. Well, thanks, movie guy, and thanks for the super chat, man. Too nice. You have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow and sweet dreams. Dream of me, will you? All right. Night King 01 back again says, I just hope the Odyssey has some color. I'm tired of historical films taking color out of ancient times. Ridley Scott has ruined historical movies, and I'm tired of Hollywood making these movies look like post-rain cloudy day. Yeah, I agree. Let's not desaturate it because it's an older movie. Keep in mind, the sun was still present, and there were still vivid colors existent in reality. I would trust in Nolan to make the movie look appropriate with how it should. I will. But as far as like movies that take place in ancient times, you have to. Gladiator has some color to it. I think the movie Gladiator is very colorful. When they go to Rome, like the first shot of the Roman Empire is very gloomy and cloudy, but it's supposed to be depressing because Joaquin Phoenix returns as the emperor. So I get it, but everything after that has like a warmth to it. But the movie Troy is kind of like a warm looking movie. It looks like it's appropriate and takes place in a kind of a desert tropical setting. But I agree with you. I am so tired of desaturated gray gloomy movies. It's like it just looks like some preset color grading template that you would get on iMovie. It's like, I don't know. I agree with you though. Riley Skywalker says, do you think Odyssey will top Troy? I love Troy. I love Troy. That is a phenomenal movie, and it does not get the credit it deserves. It really doesn't. I think the Odyssey will be in the same. I think it'll be on the same pedestal. I'm hoping that the Odyssey is the best Nolan movie ever made and one of the best ancient time period epics ever made. So, and we don't get enough of those movies, and I want more of them. And I'm not talking about movies like Gladiator 2. I'm talking about like real good historical epics, not with crappy CGI monkeys, okay? So, I hope it is. I hope it's better than Troy. Of course. But if it's just as good, I will be happy. Speaking of Troy, it needs a 4K. It does need a 4K. Dude, some of the sequences in that movie on 4K, oh, that would look glorious on like a huge OLED TV. Oh, yeah. I agree with you. I forget that that's not even on 4K. You sack of wine. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live show here. We hung out for 2.5 hours, and I just want to say, guys, thank you for joining me for this live show. It was 5 years in the making here on this channel. But if you want to join me for weekly live shows, or maybe more than weekly live shows, definitely check out my second channel, John Flickinger. The link is down below. We will do weekly live shows there. I talk about movie topics and everything else I don't cover on YouTube. I cram it all into the live show, and we can hang out, eat some popcorn. You guys can ask some questions. But this was fun, and I think we will do more live shows here on the FlickPick channel because I feel like I haven't really been able to connect with my audience here as much as I want to, and it's hard to do that when I'm just doing a pre-recorded jump cut video, so I want to start doing more live shows so we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the questions. You guys are too nice. I do appreciate it. And if you guys just watched, thank you for that as well. It does mean a lot because without you watching, I'm just some douchebag in a Jurassic Park hoodie wearing underwear talking about movies by himself in his room. So I do appreciate that. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good night. Go eat some popcorn, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.